Welcome to Bazooka Kickboxing Academy, episode 37, and we're gonna work on our scissor knee. The most important part of the scissor knee is getting that height. And in order to get that height, that's where that scissor comes in, the alternating knees or the switch knee. So if I'm gonna start with an orthodox position, so my right foot's behind me. When I use my scissor knee, I'm gonna be landing with my left knee. So the key to it is pushing off the back and getting this knee up. With that up motion, that's when I'm gonna scissor my knee and land with my left knee. So I'll show from this angle, up, and then you're landing with the left knee. So you have two options depending where your opponent is. You can use the scissor and get straight up, so I can come straight up, or I can change the direction and shoot more forward where I'm coming more towards my opponent. Maybe the forward knee might be better to land to the body, or to the head, depending on how athletic you are with your switch knee. Okay, so we'll start with the right side first. And the way I like to use these to the head, it's because it helps you work that athletic, explosive movement. This is where explosive athletes are gonna have fun time with. So we're gonna keep the hands up here with the pads, and then I have a nice target to the chin. So different ways, boom. Okay, that's more going forward. If I want, I can just come straight up and come back down. The key, if you watch the earlier series, the key to a good knee is tuck the heel to the butt. This way you're gonna have a nice sharp knee. Last one. Good. Now, the last one we're gonna do is we're gonna work on switching with the other side now. So if you're a fighter that can fight both stances, you can start from your southpaw position and you have your right knee. Or if you're a more structured orthodox fighter, which means you like to stay in your orthodox a lot more, this is where you can use your forward step or your back step to set up the switch. So for example, I'm gonna be standing here. I can step into my southpaw and switch. You do that with momentum, it gives you that extra step, you can get some extra height. Okay, the last one I can do to set up the scissor right knee is I'm gonna take a back step here, and then I'm gonna push off and throw. So either stepping forward into your southpaw or back stepping are both ways to set up your scissor right knee. So let's see it on the pads. Okay, now I'm gonna work the back step. This might work better if your partner is closer to you because you're back stepping to make some space. Especially if he's a pressure fighter, I'm gonna move back to think that he has more space. As he comes forward, boom, I catch him with the knee. Okay, another thing you can do to make this a little bit more advanced, set them up off of kicks. So one of my favorite, you'll see it a lot, is the right kick to the scissor left knee. So I throw my right kick, I come back down, boom, into my scissor right knee. A few more. Okay, that's just one of my favorite setups. You can set up any which way you want. There you go, episode 37 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, the scissor knee. It's a good weapon to have if you want to be unpredictable, especially if you throw a lot of round attacks, like kicks or hooks. It's a perfect weapon to throw down the middle. I showed you different ways of creating the space to throw it. If your partner is moving back, that step forward lets you get momentum, lets you close distance faster to land the knee. Or if you're fighting a pressure fighter, use that back step into the scissor knee. Both very good options. We see it a lot in MMA, we see it a lot in kickboxing. Try it out, practice on the bag, practice on, safely with your partner because it's a very dangerous weapon. and have fun with it. You know, martial arts is about changing things up, being unpredictable, and having fun. So if you enjoy the series, like, comment, support by going to bazookasquad.com, and make sure you like and follow the guys behind the camera at DB Vault. All right, welcome to episode 17 of Bazooka Kickboxing Series, and today is about building combinations part 3, which is going to be punch to kick combinations. And because it's the beginning part of our combination series, what we're going to do is we're going to be alternating our hand combinations, ending with one of our lead hands rear kicks, or we're going to end with our rear hand lead kick. And that's why the episodes before we're really breaking down the last part of these combinations. So we have our jab round kick or hook round kick. We have our right cross to kick, right cross to knee. So that's the end of our combination. So this series is going to be about using left, left combinations in order to set up your power kicks. The best way to do that, I'm going to bring Troy, and we're going to start off on the pads. Okay, so one of the easiest ways to start with this type of punch to kick combinations is we're going to have Troy call different numbers. And at this point of the series, you should know how to properly throw every technique and how to end with the punch to kick combinations. So what Troy's going to do is if he calls 1, it's just going to mean 1 punch follow kick, 2, 1, 2 follow left kick, 3 will be jab cross hook kick, and he'll just call the numbers and I follow along with whatever number he calls.
1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 4, 3, 1, 2, 2, 1.
Instead of using our straight punches and our hooks in our combinations, you can change the punch. Here we're going to use more of our inside fighting, which is our hooks and our uppercuts.
1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 3.
Okay, now we're going to do the same type of drilling, but we're going to replace the kick with some knees with Troy. So same kind of combination, same kind of calling out the numbers where Troy's going to follow. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1. We have Troy using the wrecking ball. Troy's really good with his knees, so this is a bag we like to use. He's going to be mixing in his punch to knees or his punch to body kick. Everything is going to be alternating hands and alternating kicks. Everything punch to kick. One of the basics and most combinations that most people throw always end up being punch to kick. Okay, so traditional long bag, perfect for building combinations. Why? Because you can change levels. So you're going to see me when I'm using this long bags, I'll mix in low kicks, high kicks, body kicks, and I'm also going to change levels with my punches. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a flow. Okay, Troy and I are going to do partner drills. If you saw the first half of this episode, we started with our lead hand to build in our punch to kick combinations. Now we're going to start with our rear hand. So Troy's going to start with his right hand, left kick, and we're going to just partner back and forth. Cross hook kick. Cross hook cross. Same series with the knees, cross knee. Cross hook knee. Cross hook cross. Okay, so that's just us drilling back and forth. You can put together any punch to kick or knee combination you like. Just focus on alternating hands while you're doing it. It's the easiest way of building combinations. Okay, we're going to discuss some common mistakes. The biggest common mistake is the individual strike that you're throwing. So if you're throwing any of the strikes wrong, it's going to throw off your combination. So make sure every strike in your combination is thrown with proper technique, proper elbow positioning, proper footwork. That'll help your combination a lot. The other thing is your hand position when you're throwing your combinations. A lot of times our hands can get all sloppy and we forget about our defense when we're striking. So make sure everything is in a nice tight position when you're throwing your combinations. The third mistake is your foot positioning. Make sure you're not too long in your stance all the time because it shows a lack of control in your footwork. Make sure you're always in control of your footwork. Try not to overstep. It's important you can also build in pauses. If you're throwing and your opponent's moving, you can pause, step, and attack. Try not to lengthen your stance too much because then you can't build in exits and you can't learn good footwork. The last mistake I'm going to discuss is not exiting after your combinations. A lot of times you throw your combinations and people stay there. That's good if you want to pressure fight and throw, into that grueling style of fighting, but I like adding exits into my combinations. So after the combinations, I build an exit, I create space, which is good for beginners because it builds in automatic defense with the footwork. There you go, episode 17, building combinations, part 3, which is punch to kick combinations. Remember, this is the beginning of building combinations. So we're working on alternating hands, left, right, left. Makes it easier to flow with your combinations. Make sure you mix in your left kick and your right kick off of your hands. And remember, make sure you throw everything with good technique. Next episode, 18, is going to be about using our kick first, then follow our punches, which is the next part of building combinations. Make sure you enjoy, like, subscribe, and keep spreading the word. Welcome back to episode 21 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. I'm back with Abiel Delgado, one of my up-and-coming fighters, and we're going to continue with our building combination series. And now that we've learned how to throw combinations, throwing one combination always isn't enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to build combinations with pauses in between. So what I like to do is we start with one combination, build in a pause, add a second combination, add in a pause, and add a third combination, and then add an exit. This way you're learning to gain momentum and you're learning to eventually score more points than your opponent. So the first one I'm going to start with is a jab, lead hook, round kick. Once we do a few of those, we're going to build in a second combination. Once I'm comfortable with the first two, we'll add a third combination. So I'm going to start. Okay, let's add the second combination. We'll go hook, cross, left kick. Okay, now we're gonna build in our third combination, which is gonna be a kick, hook, cross. One more. So this drill can be applied so many different ways. And remember, you don't always have to have the same combinations. Constantly change them up. Mix in same side attacking, alternate sides, kick to punch, punch to kick. Play around with the different combinations you're gonna throw. I like having a set pair of combinations that it comes second nature to you. You don't have to think. This way, when you're in the fight, you can react right away with good, quick counters and gain momentum so you're not overthinking. So Aviel here, we're gonna mix in some more punching and knees for this sequence. One more. Okay, Aviel's just going to be using the uppercut bag. He's going to do the same mentality, combination, pause, combination. With the pads, we did more set types of combinations. Here, Aviel's just going to flow with combinations of his own. You can even see him mixing in different angles. Time. So here I'm on the long bag. Now I'm just going to do the same thing, combination, pause, combination, pause, combination, but this time I'm able to change levels with it. I'm just going to flow different levels, different sides, different combinations. So to make these drills like all of the other episodes, to make it more advanced and intermediate like, we're just gonna partner back and forth. One partner's just gonna keep a shell defense, then the other partner's just gonna find holes, attack. 3 combinations with pauses. I'm even changing angles if I want. Okay, so I'm going to discuss some common errors when doing these combinations with pauses. The first thing is distance control. Fighting is all about being able to manage distance between you and your opponent. So if I'm throwing a combination and I'm coming forward and my opponent's not moving, I'm going to be jamming my strikes and everything's going to end up too short. So the pause is very important because after my combination, I could manage distance and throw again. I'm looking for full extension and nice full long techniques. Don't crowd your techniques and don't get overly aggressive. The second mistake is not staying defensive between combinations. After you throw your combinations, you're attacking again. You always need to keep your hand position nice and tight throughout the pauses. The pause allows you to see openings. If you're just throwing without pausing, you're more open to counterpunching because you're not staying defensive between combinations and you're not seeing. That pause allows you to maybe change levels to something that's more effective. The third thing is after your combinations, you have to build in an exit. So after my last combination, I don't want to just stand there because that's when my opponent's going to counter. I'm either attacking or I'm moving and keeping space. Don't get caught allowing your opponent to counter back and to gain momentum on you. You gain momentum and move to avoid your opponent from getting more momentum on you. Building combinations with pauses is a very important concept in fighting. One is you want to gain momentum over your opponent. If you're constantly comboing back and forth, you're allowing the fight to be 50-50. You want an edge and you want to score more. So combo, pause, combo. Keep momentum. You're going to win the fight more easily that way rather than just throwing one combination and waiting for your opponent to attack. The second thing, these pauses allows you to keep your hand position tight. After you throw a combination, check your defense, make sure you watch for the counter, then attack again. The pause will also allow you to find angles, find movement, change positioning. You don't always want to attack one area, change focus. And you could also change the pause between the combination, and that's going to really mess your opponent up. If you combo, pause, and then combo again. Next time, pause shorter. Next time, pause a little longer. Play around with those pauses, be unpredictable. This way you can gain momentum and win the fight. If you're liking these technical series, make sure you like, comment below. Make sure you support this series by buying one of the shirts, bazookakickboxing.com/shop. Make sure you follow DB Vault, the video guys behind the technical series making it happen. See you next episode where we're going to be discussing some front kicks. Welcome back to the Bazooka Kickboxing series, already at episode 20, part 6 of building combinations. And today it's going to be about using the same side to build combinations. So you can use your right kick, right hand, right knee. All the episodes before were about alternating. So we did lead to rear, you did rear to lead, and we started building left, right in order to get that momentum, that power, that flow in combinations. But this style allows you to get more power in each strike. You're going to notice the combination might be a little slower, but you're going to get a lot of power. And you see this style a lot with good southpaws. You can watch guys like Giorgio Petrosian, Yotsenklai, Sanchai. A lot of the best southpaws use this style of left kick, left straight. We're going to do the same thing as an orthodox fighter and really build that style in. So to really teach us from a basic level, you pick the 3 strikes, and what we'll do is we'll start from long weapon, which is our kick, move to our straight right, move to our right knee. Those who are Muay Thai followers can mix in the right elbow at that as well. But this is a kickboxing series, so we're going to do a series on elbows down the road. Okay, so right kick, right straight, right knee. We're going to do it from the right side, and then the same type of combinations from the left side. Remember, it's about being able to throw the left side. You might not be able to fight that way, but it's important. I always like to tell my guys, you know, even from a beginners, maybe 70% on your good side, 70-80%, 20 to 30% on that bad side. Work the hip, work the power, change up your style. You never know, you might hurt your shin or have to switch down the road, but it's important to start from the beginning. Okay, other side. One more. So just as we did with our punch, kicks, and knees, the same concept can be applied just to our boxing. So I'm going to just mix up a lot of same side attacks with Abiel. I might call singles, doubles, triples. Make sure I mix in uppercuts, hooks, and straights. So I'm going to start with Abiel, jab, hook. Okay, add an uppercut to the end. Okay, uppercut hook. Add a straight to the end. Straight first, uppercut. One more. Okay, 3 hook, uppercut, hook. Same thing. Same thing. Straight uppercut. Jab uppercut. Hook, hook. Hook, hook. Uppercut, hook. Uppercut, hook. Straight uppercut. Straight hook. Jab hook. Jab uppercut. Cross hook. There you have it, different punching power with my good friend the Punch Shield. So we started off with basic kick, punch, knee. We moved to just hand combinations with Abiel and the Punch Shield. And the third part is we're gonna use punches to set up the same side kick. So we have our jab left kick, jab hook left kick. We have cross kick, okay? Abiel's just gonna flow with me.
Jab. Jab, quickly. Quickly. Jab, quick. Pass hook. Same thing. Same thing.
So I have Abiel on the uppercut bag, and we're just gonna focus on lead hand. So he's gonna work on using his jab and finding the uppercut or the hook, and then following. So you notice, in order for Abiel to get power, he constantly has to reset his shoulder, really use rotation. If he doesn't use rotation in the shoulder, he's not gonna get power. So he's gotta make sure he resets and loads up that uppercut or those hooks. Okay, now he's gonna do the same thing with his rear hand. Making sure he resets and really has to use that shoulder and that core rotation in order to get good power. Time. So a good way to work it again is always this long bag. This way you can change levels. So instead of constantly hitting the head, I can mix in body punches, I can mix in low kicks, body kicks, and high kicks. So make sure you constantly change levels in order to get yourself away from being such a beginner. Become an intermediate, become an advanced fighter by learning to change levels with all your strikes. So I'm gonna flow with it now. Okay, so we're gonna talk about some of the common mistakes. And the main mistake people make is not resetting the shoulder to get power. So an example would be, I throw my right hand and then I keep my shoulder here and I kick from there. That's a good strategy if you're looking for points, but this is basing our combinations on getting power. Yes, there's light volume style combinations, but we're working on power combinations. So after I throw this hand, I can pull my shoulder back. This way I can get full rotation in a second. Just like Abiel was doing on that uppercut bag. If I just punch like this, I have no power. So I need to make sure I reset and use my body and my rotation in order to get power using the same side. The other thing is always work on the footwork. There's always so many mistakes you can make, but the key is making sure you're always grounded with it. And in order to get that shoulder back, you need to make sure you're in good footwork. So make sure your feet are on point. And the third mistake, that could go for any, make sure your hand position is tight. When I'm throwing, I don't want to keep my hands all over the place. Keep them in a steady, strong position. So if I'm here, everything stays nice and tight. And remember, half of fighting is attacking, the other half is defensive. So make sure your hands are up. There you have it, episode 20, part 6 of the building combinations. It's a beautiful day in Toronto, so I decided to finish the video out here. So just remember, there's so many different ways to throw combinations, and this way was about using the same side. And we're talking about power combinations, so make sure when you throw, reset your shoulder, reset your kick, get good power. And nothing says you can't mix in your other side after. For example, I can throw a lot of lead hand to set up my power kick. I can set up my lead side to set up my lead kick. So make sure you're creative with your combinations. That's the beautiful thing about kickboxing. It's an art. It's an art form, and you're the artist. So make sure you go out there, be creative with your combinations. And remember, a good combination is about power, so make sure you do it with good technique, good power, and that's what Bazooka Style is. If you're liking these shirts, bazookakickboxing.com/shop, join the team, and look cool doing it. So make sure you follow along, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for episode 21. Welcome to episode 22 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and we're going to be talking about front kicks, teeps, push kicks. There's slight differences between them, and that's what I'm going to talk about before we get into the actual lesson. So when you talk about push kicks or teeps, the way I look at it, and everyone's going to have different definitions and different ways of throwing it, and like all the other strikes, there's so many different ways to throw it, but I'm going to teach you the most basic way. So the teep or the push kick, like the word, I look at it as more of the push, using it as more of a defensive weapon to keep your opponent away. So for example, if Abiel is just going to hold across here, this way I can throw left and right, it doesn't matter. But my idea is if he comes in, I want to keep him away. I want to keep him away, right? That's more of my teep. Okay, more of my push kick, so pushing him away. Where now a front kick is more of like a strike. You're looking at it more like your cross or your jab. So Abiel's just gonna stay here now. So instead of pushing him away, I'm gonna hit and pull like a jab. So now it's more of a front kick versus push. Okay, so that's the big difference between the front kick and the teep. So we're going to talk, and it's minor differences between the two. And a lot of the difference between the front kick and the push kick happens with the extension of the lead hip. So when I want to really make sure I push Abiel away, I'm going to really force my hip through, getting full extension. Where the front kick, I'm more keeping my hip more compact. And you're going to see when I'm front kicking or teeping, it's all about, I like to throw it from the chamber. So the chamber means having it up from here and then pushing through. A lot of people like to throw their teep from up here, which is fine. Okay, that's more of your teep. But that front kick, I like to have the chambered style. So today's episode is going to be using the chamber to add the kick. The key things I'm looking for in this chamber is knee up first. With the knee position up, you're looking at bringing the foot out. When I'm landing, I want to make sure I use the ball of my foot. This way it's more of an impact point and I can be more precise with the landing. So I'm going to make sure I pull my toes back and really focus on how I'm going to land that kick. The other thing I'm focusing on is my back foot plant. There's two ways you can throw it. You can throw it from a very flat foot, so my back foot plant foot is flat, or I can throw it on the ball of my foot. When I'm up on the ball of my foot, it really allows me to pull my weight forward. So play around with those two, flat versus up on the ball of the back foot. Okay, and you're gonna see when you're up on that back foot, you're able to add more drive going forward. If I'm on my heel, it's more of an up kick. So it's easier for me to kick up. If I'm up on my back foot, I'm able to get more of a forward push. So play around with back foot heel on the ground, up on the toe, but make sure you focus on the ball of the foot, and you can play around with it on both feet. So rear legs, front leg. So now Abiel is just gonna do, I call him the zombie, where he's just gonna walk very lightly to me, and I'm just gonna keep him away using left and right front kicks or teeps. Okay, just catching the timing. Okay, so now I'm gonna hold with Abiel, and I'm gonna show you different ways you can use the front kick or your teep to set up different weapons. And the one a lot of people like to use is the knee. So as Abiel pushes me with the front kick first, keeps me away, as I come in, I walk into knees. So that's one way you can add it. Okay, sometimes he keeps me away, and then when I walk in, he plays with the knees. Okay, the other way you can do it, and especially with bazooka kickboxing style, we like to throw a lot of round power kicks. And if you constantly throw round kicks, it's easy for your opponent to walk in. So if I kick and Abiel crashes in, he's able to come in. So you want to be less predictable. So after I throw front kicks, boom, I'll throw and mix in front kicks. This way, my opponent never knows if it's going to the leg or to the body. And you got to think about it. If I'm attacking the leg and he starts blocking that leg kick, boom, the next time, boom, I change the angle to the front. This way, he never knows which angle I'm attacking at. You ready? Yep. There you go, just some simple flow off of the front kick. So Abiel's doing a drill that you might see a lot on TV and people working it on different YouTube videos, but he's just doing a simple front kick against the wall. This way he's learning to toughen his feet so he can hit with the ball of the foot. So he's gonna constantly change feet, and you can see on his plant foot, he's gonna constantly change whether he's on his heel or off his heel. But a quick, easy way to develop your front kick, strengthen your feet. Good? So I'm going to discuss two different things I want to focus on this bag. The first thing is the hand positioning when I'm throwing my teeps. You're going to see a lot of people throw the teep and their hand position comes down, which obviously is not a good strategy. So the two different ways I teach my hand positioning is you can keep your hand position up throughout the hole, or you can slightly extend your hands. Okay, I can extend my hands, or I can keep it tight with my shield. But I don't want to see you dropping your hands too much. You'll see some people paw the lead hand, which I don't mind either, but you have to be able to defend with your other hand. That's the key. It's a little bit more advanced when you see people playing with the lead hand pawing off to the side. So to make it simple, to make it basic, let's keep our hand position here. This way you can come over and punch. If I'm coming here, I have to bring my hand up to punch again. So let's keep our hand position tight. Also, those who are Muay Thai practitioners who fight Muay Thai, the reason you want your hands up, this way you can really utilize your elbows off of the front kicks, okay? So let's keep our hand position nice and tight. This drill I'm gonna use on this bag, if you don't have a partner, I was lucky to have Abiel today, but this drill is just playing keep away with the bag. This way, as the bag comes back, I'm using it as a timing drill. Very simple, but let me tell you, if you've never done this before, it actually looks harder than it is. If you miss the bag, that's fine. Keep pushing it and just keep on going as you can. Now we're gonna add some partner drills back and forth with the front kick. The most basic one, instead of using the pad, Abiel's just gonna keep his hands here and he's just gonna keep walking forward. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna alternate my kicks to his legs and then mix in the front kick. But the key is managing distance, and that front kick is gonna help you keep distance. A boxer, some like to use the jab, where you see a lot of Muay Thai fighters and kickboxers use their front kick. Be able to use both. Don't always have one way of using a weapon for distance. So many different ways. Learn them all, okay? So the last drill we're gonna use for the front kick is we're gonna have Abiel attacking with his punches, and I'm just gonna use my teep to keep him away. So this way you're timing him with your punches. As soon as he walks in a punch, you keep him away. Okay, I could mix in low kicks if I want, but we're mixing. Okay, keeping distance. As you can see, I don't take the front kick every time. Sometimes I block, sometimes I teep back. Now I'm going to discuss some common errors when throwing your front kick or your teep. The first one is not chambering the leg enough. And what's going to happen is you like to use the front kick when someone is coming forward. But what happens now is if they come in overly aggressive, if your knee is not up to chamber, your front kick's not going to do anything. So make sure you get a nice high chamber, and this way you can throw it from closer distance. If you're not going to chamber as much, it's better when your opponent is further away. Second mistake we're going to discuss is that hand positioning. Try not to get our hands moving too low, because again, if you're fighting someone like me who's really good at pressure fighting, I'm going to be able to get inside on you and be able to utilize my punches or my low kicks if you don't keep your hand position tight. So make sure your hand position is tight. The other thing is, make sure you throw it at the right timing. The front kick is about timing. So just like the drills we did, as someone's coming in, if you're not in a close position, back up, you can switch your stances. But make sure you put yourself in a good position to throw, because it's a very dangerous technique. If someone's crashing me and I'm too late with my timing, it's gonna push me off balance. I'm gonna be fighting off my heels. So make sure you throw it from a good distance with good timing, good hand position, and make sure you keep your opponent away. And remember, are you using it to push your opponent away, or are you front kicking to do damage? A nice front kick to the solar plexus. Take 3, final cut. All right, there you have it. There is the front kick and the teep. Very important weapon, because if you're constantly throwing attacks from the outside, it leaves the middle open. So the front kick is a good weapon to change around from constantly throwing rounds. For example, with me, I love throwing my low kick. So the low kick, low kick, low kick, when you mix in a front kick, it really throws people off, throws them off balance. So remember, practice those drills. Practice with a partner and make sure you get that timing down. If you're liking these series, make sure you put a thumbs up, make sure you comment, ask some questions below, and make sure you subscribe and share the technical series with all your friends. If you like these shirts, I'm wearing a tank top today. You can get them at bazookakickboxing.com/shop. We have t-shirts, wraps, and different types of gear coming soon. So thanks for following, and we'll see you next week. Welcome back to the Bazooka Kickboxing series. Already at episode 20, part 6 of building combinations, and today it's going to be about using the same side to build combinations. So you can use your right kick, right hand, right knee. All the episodes before were about alternating. So we did lead to rear, you did rear to lead, and we started building left, right in order to get that momentum, that power, that flow in combinations. But this style allows you to get more power in each strike. You're gonna notice the combination might be a little slower, but you're gonna get a lot of power. And you see this style a lot with good southpaws. You can watch guys like Giorgio Petrosian, Yotsenklai, Sanchai. A lot of the best southpaws use this style of left kick, left straight. We're going to do the same thing as an orthodox fighter and really build that style in. So to really teach us from a basic level, you pick the 3 strikes, and what we'll do is we'll start from long weapon, which is our kick, move to our straight right, move to our right knee. Those who are Muay Thai followers can mix in the right elbow at that as well. But this is a kickboxing series, so we're gonna do a series on elbows down the road. Okay, so right kick, right straight, right knee. We're gonna do it from the right side, and then the same type of combinations from the left side. Remember, it's about being able to throw the left side. You might not be able to fight that way, but it's important. I always like to tell my guys, you know, even from a beginners, maybe 70% on your good side, 70, 80%, 20 to 30% on that bad side. Work the hip, work the power, change up your style. You never know, you might hurt your shin or have to switch down the road, but it's important to start from the beginning. Okay, other side. One more. So just as we did with our punch, kicks, and knees, the same concept can be applied just to our boxing. So I'm gonna just mix up a lot of same side attacks with Abiel. I might call singles, doubles, triples. Make sure I mix in uppercuts, hooks, and straights. So I'm gonna start with Abiel, jab, hook. Okay, add an uppercut to the end. Okay, uppercut, hook. Add a straight to the end. Straight first, uppercut. One more. Okay, 3 hook, uppercut, hook. Same thing. Same thing. Straight uppercut. Jab uppercut. Hook, hook. Hook, hook. Uppercut, hook. Uppercut, hook. Straight uppercut. Straight hook. Jab hook. Jab uppercut. Cross hook. There you have it, different punching power with my good friend the Punch Shield. So we started off with basic kick, punch, knee. We moved to just hand combinations with Abiel and the Punch Shield. And the third part is we're gonna use punches to set up the same side kick. So we have our jab left kick, jab hook left kick. We have cross kick, okay? Abiel's just gonna flow with me.
Jab, switch. Jab. Jab, hook in. Hook in. Jab, switch. Pass hook. Same thing. Same thing.
So I have Abiel on the uppercut bag, and we're just gonna focus on lead hand. So he's gonna work on using his jab and finding the uppercut or the hook, and then following. So you notice, in order for Abiel to get power, he constantly has to reset his shoulder, really use rotation. If he doesn't use rotation in the shoulder, he's not going to get power. So he's got to make sure he resets and loads up that uppercut or those hooks. Okay, now he's going to do the same thing with his rear hand. Making sure he resets and really has to use that shoulder and that core rotation in order to get good power. Time. So a good way to work it again is always this long bag. This way you can change levels. So instead of constantly hitting the head, I can mix in body punches, I can mix in low kicks, body kicks, and high kicks. So make sure you constantly change levels in order to get yourself away from being such a beginner. Become an intermediate, become an advanced fighter by learning to change levels with all your strikes. So I'm gonna flow with it now. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the common mistakes. And the main mistake people make is not resetting the shoulder to get power. So an example would be I throw my right hand and then I keep my shoulder here and I kick from there. That's a good strategy if you're looking for points, but this is basing our combinations on getting power. Yes, there's light volume style combinations, but we're working on power combinations. So after I throw this hand, I can pull my shoulder back. This way I can get full rotation in a second. Just like Abiel was doing on that uppercut bag. If I just punch like this, I have no power. So I need to make sure I reset and use my body and my rotation in order to get power using the same side. The other thing is always work on the footwork. There's always so many mistakes you can make, but the key is making sure you're always grounded with it. And in order to get that shoulder back, you need to make sure you're in good footwork. So make sure your feet are on point. And the third mistake that can go for any, make sure your hand position is tight. When I'm throwing, I don't want to keep my hands all over the place. Keep them in a steady, strong position. So if I'm here, everything stays nice and tight. And remember, half of fighting is attacking, the other half is defensive. So make sure your hands are up. There you have it, episode 20, part 6 of the building combinations. It's a beautiful day in Toronto, so I decided to finish the video out here. So just remember, there's so many different ways to throw combinations, and this way was about using the same side. And we're talking about power combinations, so make sure when you throw, reset your shoulder, reset your kick, get good power. And nothing says you can't mix in your other side after. For example, I can throw a lot of lead hands to set up my power kick. I can set up my lead side to set up my lead kick. So make sure you're creative with your combinations. That's the beautiful thing about kickboxing. It's an art. It's an art form, and you're the artist. So make sure you go out there, be creative with your combinations. And remember, a good combination is about power, so make sure you do it with good technique, good power, and that's what Bazooka Style is. If you're liking these shirts, bazookakickboxing.com/shop, join the team, and look cool doing it. So make sure you follow along, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for episode 21. Welcome back to episode 19 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. This is episode 5 of the building combinations. Today we're going to be talking about kicks to knees, and we're going to show from different stances, orthodox and southpaw, different ways to set up your kicks and land the knee on the inside. Why this is a valuable weapon is because a lot of pressure fighters will try to come in after the kick, so that's where you have the knees waiting. So let's set it up. We're going to start with the most basic of the kick to knees, and that's using our right kick and our right knee. So we're going to be watching our footwork, which is again one of the most important parts of the bazooka style kickboxing. So we're looking at stepping with the kick, and you're going to see that I'm on the ball of my foot, my heel is off. This way I can get good rotation with my kick. Okay, now I return my foot back to from where it started, maybe slightly ahead. Now I'm going to be stepping with the knee. So now I want to make sure I get a nice solid point into the floor on the ball of the foot, and from here I have my knee, and then I build in the exit. So I'm building in the enter with my step to the kick, and I'm exiting after my knee. Step with the kick, step with the knee. So when you throw the knee, just if you go back to the series in the earlier episodes, you can use your hands to pull in, or you can keep your hands tight. I'll just show you both now before I change stances. Okay, we're going to do the same thing now, and instead of the right kick, right knee, we're going to go to our right kick and follow switch left knee. Okay, from here you have the other option. So what I'm going to do is we're going to stay in our orthodox position. We're going to throw a lead left kick, follow right knee. Okay, for this one here, the option is I really want you to be able to bring that foot right down after the left kick. Readjust your feet and then throw the knee. Remember, this is power knees. You can throw a shorter knee if you want to enter with the clinch, but I'm looking for power knees. Okay, we're going to switch it up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do our left kick, follow left knee. Okay, two options on this one. You can step back for the knee or bring it down and then switch for the knee. I'll do both. First, going back to a southpaw. Second one, down and then switch. Okay, so now what I like to do is I like to implement southpaw. Even though you may be an orthodox fighter or you may be a southpaw fighter, it's always important to switch stances and make sure you can throw basic combinations from the opposite side. So let's do the same kind of setups to knees using the opposite. Go switch kick to the rear knee. Okay, let's go power side lead, other side. Okay, so remember, your southpaw, your opposite stand is going to be a little bit different, but keep with it, keep working it. Okay, so Abiel and I are just going to combo back and forth. This allows you to use a little bit more freedom to be able to set things up. Do kicks and knees your own way. Sometimes we'll add a little bit of an extra clinch, maybe throw 2 or 3 knees on the inside, sometimes just a single knee and exit. Constantly change your attack, stay in, exit, play around with it. So we have Abiel here on the long bag. He's just going to use different kicks to knees, flowing with the bag. You can see him constantly staying active with his kicks and knees, building in enter, exits, kick, knee, kicks. Just as you want to flow with your boxing, it's important to be able to flow and use your kicks and knees as freely and as you would flow with your hands. So I'm going to be using the wrecking ball to use my kicks and knees. Traditionally, it's more for uppercuts and hooks in boxing, but it's a great bag to work your kick and knees because it allows you to kick more on a 45 and allow you to get the knees a little higher. When you use the long bag, you tend to knee a little lower. So this helps you aim a little bit higher for the solar plexus, to the chin, to the face, to the nose, whatever it is, but it helps you create that up angle that you're looking for with your knees. And again, that 45 kick is perfect to set up this kick. This way, you're not having to over pivot, come back to your position, and then knee. So the 45 kick with less of a pivot is beautiful to set up those knees to the chin. Let me flow with it. All right, so for some common mistakes. First common mistake is throwing the kick or the knee incorrectly. So mistake 1, easily fixed. Go back into the series, learn each individual technique properly, and that'll fix problem 1. Problem 2, back to our footwork. And we're gonna start with our front foot. Now it's important when you're doing these kicks and knees, you limit the amount of times you step. So what happens is a lot of people step to kick, and then they step again, have to readjust their feet to knee again. Have perfect placement, know where you want to place your foot. Don't allow the technique to place your feet, you control where you want to put your footwork. So when I kick, I strategically place my foot down, I strategically dig my front foot in, and I have my knee position. So limit your amount of steps, clean up the footwork. So the second mistake is kicking and not placing this foot. Either you place it far back and then you have to bring the foot up to step again. So after the kick, make sure you place your foot down. I would say about just above where it is, maybe 3/4, half. This way you have a nice elongated step to knee. Third mistake, we're going to talk the front foot now. So after I step, I kick. It's important when you step, you really get the ball of that foot right into the ground. Make good contact with the floor. This will allow you to get good power in your technique. So make sure when you step, boom, a nice hard step in here, and you can get a nice solid knee. So dig that front foot in for the knee, elongate your stance, get good power with the knee. The last one we're going to talk about is your hand positioning going all over the place. So you'll see some people kick and then they step with their hands. Their hands are moving all over the place. Keep your hands strategically placed in a good solid framework. There you have it, episode 19 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. Kick to knees, very important weapon because after your kick, a lot of times your opponent really wants to come in and crash distance. So that's your perfect time to knee. Whether you're an outside fighter who's trying to keep your opponent away, the pressure fighter comes in, boom, you have that knee waiting for them. So make sure you mix it up. Constantly switch stances, play around with lead kicks to knees, rear kicks to knees, southpaw orthodox. Be very versatile in your kicking. This is a good opportunity to differentiate, be different, be versatile. You don't always have to be so structured in one way, but make sure when you do things, you do it with good technique and proper style, and that's bazooka style. So make sure you like the series, make sure you comment. If you're liking these badass shirts, make sure you go to bazookakickboxing.com/shop and make sure you follow my video guys, DB Vault. Welcome back to episode 23 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. Back again with Abiel Delgado. And today we're going to start a new series within the channel, and it's going to be about changing levels. And the first we're going to talk about is that straight right, or your rear straight to the body. And we're going to start with the technique of it. And the importance of level changing is you get to open up more holes in your opponent. If you're constantly attacking the head, your opponent will keep their head up, which opens the body. So it's important to change levels in order to make your knockouts easier and to find the head punches a lot easier. So level changes are a very important concept in the Bazooka Kickboxing series. So we're going to start with the right straight. And it's very similar to the technique that you're going to see when you throw your right straight to the body. But the first one you're going to see is a lot of people sit down on their punch, which is not good at getting power going forward. If I'm using my legs to come down, so people will say sit on the punch, and you see a lot of people just squatting straight down, and that's a big mistake because you can't land the full weight and the power into that body punch. So just like all of our other techniques, our partner's going to have their hands up, nice and relaxed. So I'm going to step. Remember, in order to get good power, you need to step. You need to transfer weight into the punch. So you need to step. And what this step is going to do is I'm going to put my weight and transfer it onto my front foot. And that's what's meant by sitting on the punch, making sure you get a lot of weight on that front foot. And in order to do that, you really need to use that back calf. So when I step, you see me pushing off my back calf and getting on the ball of my back foot. This way, my weight transfers forward and my knee is on top of my toe. If I'm stepping this way and my toe is in front of my knee, I'm in a terrible position because I'm not getting that full power and weight on that front foot. So I'm stepping, transferring weight on my front foot, and this is how I'm going to get weight into the punch. All right, so we're just going to go a little bit back and forth with each other. So what I like to do, as you can see, is sometimes instead of just stealing the punch, I like to make sure when I hit him, I really keep my weight on there, focusing on landing with the two knuckles. Try to get full extension in the punch. One of my favorite bags to work the straight body punch is using the Tai Long bag, and especially against the wall where the bag can't move. That's how you're really going to develop good power in your punching. If you constantly rely on the swing, you use momentum, it's timing, which is a good drill, But this one here really acts as your opponent really standing there. This way I can really fully grind and get my full knuckles in it. I'm gonna start with just a few of the straight rights to the body, then I'm gonna mix up and show you how I set them up. Okay, first technical thing I'm going to discuss is making sure your hand position is high on your head. The last thing I want when I'm fighting inside is to drop this hand, open up to counter hooks. So I'm making sure my hand's planted here, landing knuckle, weight transfer in my legs. Okay, so the setup on this bag and the drill I'm gonna use to set up the straight right is I'm just gonna throw a nice 1-2 up top, and then I'm gonna throw my 1 up top, straight right to the body. Okay, that's the setup for the drill. So I'm getting the attention to the head with the 1-2, back opens up the body, it gets the elbow positioning up. The other one I'm gonna add it with is I can add straight 1-2 to the body, or I'm gonna add a little feint with my hands. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lift my hands up slightly. This gets your opponent's eyes moving up, and then you can shoot down to the body. Okay, so we have Abiel on the long bag. Now the bag moves a little bit more, so he's gonna have to set it up, use a little bit more timing. He wants to hit that straight right as the bag's coming to him. Make sure he's using nice long straight punches, good extension, mixing up levels with that straight. Be unpredictable what level you're gonna throw that straight right. An important concept with hitting the body is the follow-up after. So just because you know how to throw and land the straight right, it's important you change levels after again. So on this bag here, my uppercut bag, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flow. After I hit the straight right, it's important I follow a nice combination back to the head. Because remember, you got the attention up, which got their elbow positioning up. Then you attack the body, which forces the elbows down. And now you have the head to attack. So head, body, head combinations when mixing up the straight right are very important. So you're gonna see me attack the head, hit the body, come back to the head. Head, body, head. Abiel and I are just going to do some partner back exchanges, and we're actually going to rely on a little bit of defense. We want to try to block the body punch because a lot of times the body punch, yes, is going to be effective, but as I just said, the body punches changes elbows in the position, which allows you to hit the head a lot better. So Abiel and I are just going to mix some punches, kicks, flows, but the basis is go to the straight to the body and then go to the head. I can follow low kicks and follow with whatever combination I want. All right, so one of the easiest ways to drill the body punch is having a body shield, body pad. This way Abiel can change levels. We're gonna start basic and then we're gonna build up to some combinations. So just start with the body. Head. Jab, cross to the body. Good. Longer jab. Good. Okay, let's go hook to the head. 1, 2. Jab, cross, hook to the head. Okay, go and cross after that. So jab, cross to the body, hook, cross. Okay. 1, 2, pause, hook, cross. Okay, put it together now. Go. Faster, 1, 2. Again. One more. Okay, let's go hook, cross, hook. Good, again. Good. Okay, we'll do some lead hands, jab, cross to the body, rear uppercut, okay? Follow hook after that. Good. All right, so now I'm gonna discuss some common mistakes when landing straight to the body. The first thing comes from the legs. If you're not using your legs to throw the body punch, there's nothing in it. So remember, you gotta make sure you transfer weight on that front foot, not coming down, your weight's coming forward. This way you got full landing, full power landing in your 2 knuckles, and that opponent's going down. The second is hand positioning. When you're throwing these punches, make sure this hand doesn't drop. Remember that you're going through the body, which is a close range shot, which is gonna happen. They're gonna throw their counters if you're fighting someone experienced. So let's make sure our hand position's high right away. The third mistake, after hitting the body, make sure you follow up to the head. It's not to just hit the body and steal. Those are stealing punches. When you hit that body, you have the opportunity now, either their elbows drop or you're gonna hurt them and they're gonna bend down. That's your opportunity to finish to the head. So make sure you mix levels to set up the body punch and you'll get a better effect with it. There you go, episode 23 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. That straight right to the body is a very important weapon, and as an amateur, you end up headhunting all the time, which actually makes it harder to knock out your opponent. So make sure you change levels with your punches, and you have to set them up properly. Make sure you use your jab, your hooks, be creative with the way you set up the body punch. But as I just mentioned, when you hit that body, make sure you follow to the head, and that's when knockouts are gonna become easier for you. So if you're enjoying the technical series, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Remember, you can get these nice Bazooka Kickboxing shirts at bazookakickboxing.com/shop. Hope you're enjoying the series. Next episode, we're gonna be talking about changing levels with your lead hook. Welcome back to episode 24 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and this part of the Bazooka Kickboxing series is about level changes. Last episode we talked about the straight right to the body. Now we're going to change the left hook, which is one of my favorite weapons to do, and it opens up so many different opportunities to finish with the different power shots, and that's what we're going to show you. Changing levels with your lead hand was a concept we talked about in the building combination section with lead hand, but this time we're going to talk a little bit more technically about it. So the first thing we're going to talk about it is the leg positioning, and it's important when throwing the left hook, just as the earlier series shows. It's that shoulder position is going to get you the most power. So if I'm in here and I don't use my body or my legs, you're not going to get much power. So you really have to use that load up in order to get a lot of good power in your body punches. So the way we're going to do it and set it up is we're going to stay a little bit more stationary now. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn our rear shoulder over, which allows me to really turn and get rotational power into the hook. So once I turn my body here, this hook stays loaded. From here, I'm gonna turn. And you're gonna see from my hip position, as I turn, my hip is going through. If my hip is coming up, you're not gonna get power. You have to get the power and the weight transfer going through. So you're gonna really see when I load up my hook, boom, I'm really focusing on getting my hip across. Now, the other important thing is the angle that you throw your lead hook. Now, and it also depends on where my opponent or my partner is keeping the elbow. If their elbow is really tight in, I'm gonna be aiming my hook more around the side and behind his elbow. So I'm gonna turn and I have that positioning here. Now, once you land that shot, you're gonna see him come this way, which now is gonna open up that liver for me. So I'm gonna change my shot and change the angle. So there's no one way to throw the hook. Use the hook to find different angles. But in order to get a good shot to that liver, you don't want to go too wide with your hooks, okay? Keep your hook in and add a little bit more of a shovel. If you add a little bit more of a shovel, which is coming forward and around, you'll have a better time at hitting that liver. So I'm just gonna hit some back and forth with Aviel. Okay, change some angles. More. Okay, weight on the front foot, hand position high. So one of the best ways I like to use for changing levels with my lead hook is my punch shield. So we're gonna start with just the body, and then I'm gonna start mixing in doubles and triples, changing levels with my left hook. So let's start with the body. As you can see, I'm changing angles for Aviel to really dig inside. Okay, head, body. As you can see, Aviel's really using good rotational power. This will allow him to speed up his double hook and get more power in his shots. Double to the body. Head, body, body, head. Let's go head, body, head. Again. Head, body, head. Okay, let's go straight right. Hook to the body. Good. 1, 2. Hook the body. Again. Again. And then go head after. 1, 2. Double, single, head, body, body, head, straight right, double, again, go. Good. So there are so many different ways of landing your left hook to the body and changing levels, but I'm just gonna show you some of my favorites. One of my favorites always is starting my combinations with nice long straight punches. So I'm gonna start with a nice solid 1, 2 to the head, get that defense up, and then rip the body. Again, I'm known for my low kick, so I'm gonna hit the body, follow with my low kick. Constantly changing levels, changing strikes, really confuses your opponents. So let's really focus just on changing levels with our left hook. But just as we learned in our last episode, after you change levels, it's important to go to the head. So after I hit that body, I need to follow up with another combinations, with another level. This way it opens up different holes and different areas on your opponent's defense a lot easier. So watch some of my flows and watch some of my setups with the left hook to the body. So I have Aviel on the wall pad, uppercut bag. So he's just gonna flow with his favorite setups, landing that left hook to the body. After he hits that left hook to the body, I want him to follow up. Time. So Abiel and I are now going to do some combo back exchanging. And the key to landing good left hooks to the body is recognizing where your opponent's elbow is, and that's what's going to help you. So why we set them up with straight punches to the head, because if I punch high, and even sometimes I punch to the point where I punch, so you can see Abiel's head move back. This way it does this, and it opens up my body better. So changing the angles of my punch all changes the position of the elbow, which allows me to set it up. So a lot of times I could hit this way, fake. This way he pauses, allows me to hit the body. But now if Abiel recognizes that I'm continually going out, he's gonna adjust. Now I need to adjust. And that's where intellectual fighting comes into play. So if I hit here and he opens wide, and boom, I can change in. So really watch this elbow positioning in order to land a good left hook to the body. And sometimes the left hook to the body might just be a setup to the head. So if he's really protective on his head and you're going for the knockout, boom, you're gonna attack the body, get his elbow positioning down, and then it's gonna open up your hooks to the head, which makes the knockout easier. So just random combo back with our favorite setups. All right, now we're going to discuss some common mistakes. And the key common mistake comes from the shoulders and the body positioning. If you're not using your legs or your body, there's no real good power in that punch. So make sure you load up, get your body rotating in order to get good power. And in order to get good rotation and good power, you need to have weight on that front foot. If you're hitting and putting weight on your back foot when you're throwing the body shot, you're escaping, you're running away from the power. So transfer on the front leg, attack. If you're exiting this way, you're gonna lose power. So really stand in your ground, stand the position, and grind those two knuckles in the body. So shoulder rotation and leg. Not using it is mistake number one. Mistake number two is that hand dropping, and way too many times when the left hook comes, this hand's right down. So make sure when you're inside, you really keep this hand position high and nice and tight. The third mistake I'm gonna make is not finishing or doing anything with the level change. If you're gonna hit the body, it's gonna open up another hole. Unless it's the end result is to finish with the body, which a lot of times is a good combination, but in my opinion, it's important to go back to the head, finish with the low kick, do something after it. Don't always stop to the body. If you want that knockout, head, body, head. There you have it, episode 24 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. The level change to the left hook is one of my favorite ways to set up my punches, my kicks. So really make sure you be creative. If you hit the head, hit the body. Once you go to the body, hit the head. If you see a lot of my bag work, my pad work, my drilling, using the multiple lead hand is a very good strategy because it sets up good power kicks, sets up your rear power straight. So be creative with the way you set up those levels. Keep changing levels, keep changing angles. You have to always remember there's no one way of throwing it. Each punch can be thrown in so many different angles and variations, set up so many different ways, finished so many different ways. So be creative with your combinations and your level changes. Next week we'll start talking about different level changes with our kicking. So if you're liking the series, make sure you like, subscribe, and if you like these shirts, bazookakickboxing.com/shop. We'll see you next week. Welcome back to the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and once again I'm here with Abiel Delgado, just coming off a fresh win Saturday night. So yeah, congratulations Abiel. Today we're going to talk about changing levels, and this is the third part of the series. And today's going to be about changing levels with the right kick, which is going to go high kick. It's one of those kicks where there's a lot about the recovery, and it's the technical side is very similar to the right swing kick that we talked about earlier. But the key thing we're going to discuss today is the recovery from the high kick, which seems to be the biggest problem. We're going to do something which is one of my favorite ways of holding, and it's a single pad. So Abiel's just going to hold for the high kick, and I'm going to explain the 3 different recovery positions. And this is going to be the most important part of the right high kick. So you can start with different levels because I'm very flexible. I usually start very low. This way we can warm it up, and then slowly the pad holder can continually bring up the pad higher and higher until you're warmed up with your hips. Okay, so let's talk about the recovery positions, and there's 3 main recovery positions. The first one we're going to do, which tends to be the hardest, is the kick and the return. And you're going to see this more in traditional martial arts, where you want to be able to chamber the kick more and return it back to your stance. So you're going to be able to kick and bring your foot back. Kick and bring your foot back. You're going to realize that this is going to be a little bit more difficult for those who are just starting martial arts because they have really tight hips. Their hips aren't strong enough to be able to hold your foot there. To be able to hold your foot there and control it takes a lot of hip strengthening, and I'll show you a few exercises you can do near the end of the video. So back to the recovery, 1 and back. That's the first one. The second one is more of the shot where you're going to aim for the neck. So we're going to come down with our kick, place it down, and return. So I'm cutting down, foot comes down, I return back to my original stance. Kick down and come back to my original stance. You can see, and you can play around with the plant foot of this high kick. If sometimes you might want to stay planted for return, other times you might want to get on the ball of that foot, get on that calf, give you a little bit of extra height and get you to turn that hip over. The last one is the one you see most people do, and they always do it in shadow boxing, which kind of drives me nuts because they only do one way, and that's the spin right around. So when doing these drills, remember, practice all 3, okay? So let's go through them again. I have the kick and return. I have the step down and return, and I have the kick through. Okay, now we're going to demonstrate on an opponent on how the strike would land. I'm actually going to turn Abiel here so you can see my right kick landing. And learning to control your techniques is very important. If you're constantly hitting so hard through your target, you're never going to really develop that control in the hip. So Abiel is just going to stand here, and I'm just going to control my kick. So the first one is the kick and return. So I can kick and return. Very light, very controlled. This is going to give you that. If you can control your kick, you can kick with a lot of power. Sometimes you might want to stop it just in case you see maybe he's blocking in between. So that control is very key. So, and return. Okay, that's one. The second one now, I'm looking to bring the kick a little bit more down, and I'm looking to wrap basically my foot around his neck and take the foot, his head down with my leg. So I'm coming more down this way and ending here and returning. So coming more down and wrapping here. Okay, and the third one is when you're just going to tee off with the head and just kick from here, kick right through, and spin right through. Okay, so those are the 3 demonstrated on a human target. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit more flow with our kicks, and the whole point of this episode is to talk about level changes. So Abiel is just going to use single pad style of holding, and he's going to change levels. I'll always call 2 low kicks, 1 high kick. If you watch my fight with Raymond Daniels from Glory 13, you can see I really use the low kick to set up the high kick. So changing levels with your kicks will allow those knockout high kicks a lot more easier. So 2 low kicks, 1 high kick. A little bit more movement, natural. Good. So now that we have some set combinations on the pad, the 2 low kick, 1 high kick, I'm gonna flow with Abiel a little bit more so you can see how I set up different things. And I'm actually gonna bring in the body kick for Abiel as well. Abiel's just going to be using our traditional long bag, just mixing up different levels, always changing. Okay. One of the ways I like to get my guys on bag to control the swinging of the bag is use the jab. So he's going to mix his kick with his jab. So he's constantly jabbing and changing levels with his kick. He can use the jab more as a range finder. He can use it as a pop, power. He's going to change up, continually changing levels with his kick. Adding singles, doubles, triples. Time. One of my favorite bags to work level changes with my right kick is the pole bag. Because the pole doesn't move, it's easier for me to change levels and flow between kicks. And remember, I can use my jab if I want, some straight punches to keep my distance, but the key is changing levels with my punches, changing levels with my kicks. So use the kick, you can use the straight punches as a range finder or not, depending on how you want to use the drill. So now I'm going to show you just one little quick exercise you can do to strengthen your hips in order to work that controlled style high kick that we can control your foot and bring back. And those who started off usually with more traditional martial arts, I started off with Taekwondo, so it was a little bit more natural for me. I was been developing this hip, this flexibility, the strength in it from such a young age. But if you haven't and you're starting kickboxing at a later age, these are very important exercises and I have all my guys doing it. So usually start with something you can hold on to. So I'm using the ring here. But the key is I want you to get this knee up nice and high. From here, you're going to work on straightening this leg. Okay? You can start from a chamber, out and back. That's one start. Once it gets a little bit more comfortable and you're getting good flexibility, you can try to do it without the hand. Once you have it, there's different exercises you can work. Continually kicking, you can work figure eights with it, okay? You can continually bounce with it, hook kicks, up, around. So just keep working different patterns with your foot, figure eights, kicks, hook kicks, chambered and back. A lot of stretching out with the side kicks, trying to land with your heel. So continually mix up the patterns and you're gonna really feel a lot of good strengthening in your hip. So this way, just like you saw with Abiel, you're able to kick and control your foot. Kick and control your foot back. We're going to discuss some common mistakes when throwing this high kick. And remember, the high kick I like to use as a good weapon for the knockout. So the first mistake we're going to talk about is not using the level change to set up the high kick. If you're using that high kick for a knockout, you have to change levels. If you're constantly throwing high kicks, your opponent's going to keep his guard up. That's better if you want to land body shots, but change levels. So you hit the leg, mix in the high kick. The second mistake is always doing the same return pattern. So the return pattern is the kick and return, the kick and down, and the spin through. Constantly change them up. You never know. If your opponent slips your kick and you end up over here, your opponent now has your back. So be able to control and mix up those different patterns. The third one I'm going to talk about is the lead calf. So you want to get up on that foot. If you're constantly flat-footed on your plant foot, it's not going to get you that full rotation and the full power. So make sure you do get on that calf and really get good extension and good kick through. So get on your calves. There you go, episode 25 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. Changing levels with the right kick, or more the high kick. Eventually in 2 episodes we're going to be talking about the low kick, but the high kick is a very important weapon because it has to be set up properly, and a lot of people constantly hit the leg or hit the body, and it happens a lot of times because pads, every time we do pads, it's always to the body. People put the pads on full and you can't really change levels. So the way I showed you how to hold as a single pad drill, it will be easier for you to train your athletes, train yourself, train your training partner to change levels with that kick, that 2 low kick, 1 high kick strategy to able to set up those low kicks. So use the strategy, use the technique, and let's land some high kicks in training. So if you like the series, make sure you keep putting those thumbs up. Comment. Thank you for the comments, people who've been writing and offering some feedback. And make sure you continue to follow DB Vault, the guys making these videos possible. See you next week. Welcome to episode 26 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, back with Abiel Delgado. And today we're going to talk about the left kick and changing levels with the left kick. And there's 4 different levels we're going to talk about and 4 different targets that we're going to focus on. The first one is the inside low kick. So we have 1, 2, we have the back leg. So I'm attacking the back leg. 2, 3 is the body, and 4 is my high kick. So the left kick is very important whatever level you're attacking of the 4. You just want to make sure there's 2 options of how to throw that kick. So the first is our traditional switch. So I'm going to do the switch to all 4 levels, and then I'm going to show you the step. Or there's actually 3 different ways, because you don't even have to do any of them. You can throw it from a stationary foot. So the first one is the switch, and I'll do 4 levels. Back leg. Okay, that's the switch. The second one we're going to talk about is the step out. So what I'm going to do, if you look at my footwork from this position, my switch, I'm switching just like we talked about in our early episodes. But the step out I'm going to use as I'm stepping off, my front foot's in center line, I step off and I attack. I use that step out as a way to launch, use it as a spring. So I'm stepping out and I'm springing, using that launch in order to get power. So I'm going to do the same thing with the 4 different levels. One more time. Okay, the last one would be that stationary style kick. You're going to find without the switch or without the step out, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get more power, but these are more quick style kicks that can set up your boxing. Okay, there you go. It's a little bit more awkward, but it's those ones that you can throw quicker that set up other techniques. All right, so now we're just going to flow between all levels. The pad holder Abiel is just going to mix it up, high kick, and constantly change levels with it. I don't want it in order. And a lot of times we always see low kick, high kick. Let's go high kick to low kick, body kick to high kick. Constantly change levels and be unpredictable. Once you have that hip control, you can change levels anytime you want. So let's have some fun with it. You're going to notice I'm constantly switching step outs to switch. When working this with a partner, there's so many different ways you can do it. So we can start with 1 for 1. I throw 1 left kick, Aviel throw 1 left kick. So we can go back and forth that way. We can add 2, we can add 3, we can add 4. You can even have just one partner standing there and the other person picking their shots with their left. So right now we're gonna start with just 1 and we'll build it up. So just any level from the 1. Okay, going to 2. Three. And you can see us constantly switching what kind of step we're doing. Switch steps or even nothing. Last one, we'll just do 4. And you don't always have to throw them in repetition. I can throw a single, double, single, still 4 strikes. Last one. Okay, so Aviel's gonna be on the wall bag, and he's just gonna mix up difference. He's throwing singles, doubles, constantly changing levels. On this drill, I let Aviel use his straight punches. It acts as a range finder, helps keep his distance, and you don't wanna throw too many round attacks. After so many round kicks, you wanna throw straight punches, and the punches also mask the eye to allow you to hit that level change a little nicer. Time. So I'm going to practice those changing left kicks on the long bag. With this bag, you really got to use the timing to land that left kick. So if the bag's coming, you want to be able to time the kick as it comes. That's what the benefit of this bag is, using that movement to walk someone into your swing kick. If the bag is coming this way and you try kicking sometimes, it's a little awkward. Or if the bag's moving this way, on that angle, you're kind of kicking with it. I want you to really work on timing the bag and meeting the bag to get more power. Again, I'm allowing my guys to use straight punches because it sets up the kicks a little nicer. So I'm going to discuss some common errors, and the first one is going to be squaring up too much on your kicks. When you're throwing your left kick, you want to make sure you stay defensive on your left side. If you're kicking and constantly staying super square, that means straight punches are going to land. So I want to make sure when you kick, you are defensive with your hands, especially when throwing double kicks. The second one I'm going to talk about is that back foot. And if you watch that video from earlier on in the series on the left kick, on the switch kick, I really talk about getting on the calf of the plant foot. If you're constantly kicking on your heel, you're gonna have that back motion and you're not gonna be able to get your hip over. So let's get on that calf of the back foot. And again, you don't always have to do it, but don't always be flat. Don't always be on the toes. Mix it up. You're gonna get a different effect from the kick based on how you use your calves or not. The third one is gonna be constantly how you react to returning from the left kick. And a lot of times when people throw left kicks, they either kick through and then they stop and end up in this position. You want to make sure after any level of your kicks, you build in some sort of exit or defense. So after I throw, I'm bringing my foot down and my footwork's in position. You got to remember, if you've put yourself in a bad position, that's when your opponent can counter. So if you're constantly kicking and ending in this position, you're in trouble. You got to build in some sort of defense after that kick. There you have it, changing levels with the left kick. Make sure you constantly change up your kicks. You don't want to be one-dimensional. Change levels. With changing levels, it confuses your opponents, and that's when you get those knockouts a little better. If you're constantly hitting one area, that your opponent's going to defend that area extra tight, which is what you want because that opens up other areas. Whether you're hitting the head, okay, bring their head up, hit the body. If you're going to hit the body, hit the head. Change levels, just as we did with our punches in the earlier episodes, and now we're doing it with our kicks. Next episode, we're going to talk about my favorite weapon, which is the low kick. With the low kick, everything is going to open up, and once you learn my low kick system, your fighting, your training, your coaching is all going to change. So make sure you follow, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and again, make sure you follow the guys behind the camera, DB Vault, making these videos possible. We'll see you next episode. Welcome back to episode 27 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, back again with Abiel Delgado. Today we're going to discuss the body kick a little bit in more detail. And just like all of the other strikes we talked about, there's different angles and different variations to every kick. So the main thing when talking about the body kick is looking at elbow positioning. And we're going to get into more detail with and how to kick with different angles to land to the body. But the most basic way on the pads, and you always see me mixing up the two, and it's going to be more of your traditional round kick to the body, which is focusing more on the arm. So I'm trying to hit the arm. The second is more of a variation, which is more of a 45 kick. So it's coming just on a 45-degree angle. And there's big differences between the two. Your traditional round kick, which we talked about more in the earlier episodes, more where you want to pivot. So I'm stepping more, and you're going to see me pivot a lot more. And it's more of my power style kick. Where the 45 kick is less of a pivot, and the angle is different. So your round versus your 45. So when holding for the two, I like to put the two together. So we'll do 45 kick first, and then follow a round kick. So this way you're constantly changing the angle. So when holding for the 45 kick, if you look at Abiel's angle, he's not going to hold as much this way. This is reinforcing more of a round kick. If he keeps it up this way, I'm looking more of that 45 kick. So the key to the 45 kick is, because you don't have rotational power, you need to really get on this calf. And this calf driving up is what's going to give you the force and the power in the kick. Because we don't have the pivot, you'll see the pivot more with the round kick. So with the 45 kick, I'm more coming up and back into my position. The benefits of the 45 kick is I'm good and nice and tight defensively. On my round kick, you tend to open up a lot, which opens up your defense. And it's a little bit more difficult to follow with your punches. So if I'm throwing my 45 kick, I can stay defensive with my hands and still be in a good position to attack with my boxing. So let's go 45 kick a few times and back in position. For my 45 kick, I do like to keep my hands more pinned to my head because most of the time I'm going to be setting up my punches after, or I mix the 45 kick with my punch so I can just jab, get my partner's or my opponent's defense up and get right under the elbow. Okay, now we're going to go to the round kick. So Abiel is going to change the position of his pad. And this time the key is I'm going to start pivoting more. All right, so I have full round rotation. Okay, now that I warmed up both, we'll mix it. 45 kick, round kick. 45 kick, round kick. Okay, let's try to change an angle on here. Okay, so now we're gonna do a little bit more of a partner drill. This is really more of an intermediate drill because now it's really using strategy. To hit the body, especially with someone's hand position is really tight, you may have to use different strategies to set it up. But let's first look at the positioning. So Aviel's defense is gonna play a big difference. You're gonna see those traditional Thai fighters who have that maybe a little bit more of a higher guard. Some kickboxers and boxers might stay a little bit tighter, closer to their hands pinned closer to their body. So depending on the defense and the guard of my opponent, depends on the type of body kick that's gonna be better. So let's start with the fighter who comes with a really tight pinned arm and they stay really close. So when you fight someone who's a little bit more pin style defense, this is where I'm really looking to use those arm kicks and the body kicks. So I'll start here and we can play around with the arm kick. Okay, cracking the arm style. We call that cracking the shell. This way, it softens up their arm. And usually people who stand like this are heavy power punchers. So the body kick to the arm is a good way to shut down their boxing. So you can keep cracking the arm. Okay, when I'm hitting the arm, I have two options now. I'm aiming to land my shin across both. You have the radius here and the humerus. And this is the one you want to really crack on both. Boom. I could even change the angle of my kick and focus on getting my shin more on the front. So again, different variations when hitting the arm. Both versus more of the single. Now, say Aviel changes and he starts bringing his elbows up. This is more, if I throw that arm kick, I'm gonna crack a lot of elbow. This is where the 45 kick comes into play. Okay, I can come up under the elbow. Now, if he makes the adjustment and defends, I have the arm as well. All right, so that's how you play it. And Aviel's just gonna change his defense and I'm gonna mix around the different body kicks. So. I'm also changing hitting with my instep versus hitting with my shin, depending on my distance. Now, the second part of this drill is you're gonna use your punches in order to change the defense. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna use my jab, I'm gonna get the body up, and I'm gonna hit. Okay, I might hit and play. So I'm finding the positioning using my straight punches, and I'm gonna mix in my angles. Okay, that's part 2 of partner drilling. The third drill you can do, it's gonna be punches versus kicks. So Aviel's just gonna throw his jab, and I'm gonna use my body kick to stop the jab. I can block, boom, hit the body, boom. Okay, mixing it up, boom. Kicking arms, blocking 45. I can mix my punches to get the body up. Okay, timing everything. Okay. And there you go, 3 easy ways to work the body kick with a partner. So the easiest way to work this is your traditional long bag. So Aviel's just gonna use his jab, his straight punches, and constantly mix angles with his body kicks. One of my favorite bags to work and drills to do is to work with the pull bag. Because it's not moving, it really lets you dig your shin into the bag. So you're gonna see me really reinforcing that 45 kick versus the round. And it all changes in my footwork. So watch how I adjust angles, adjust heights. And remember, not every kick or punch is gonna come in the same direction. By changing angles, it opens up opportunities. And you're throwing them on angles that your opponent might not be used to. So watch the different flows. I can mix with my straight punch to get the defense up. One of my favorite drills, I like to throw my 45 kick to start. I'll mix in straight punches and then do my round. So 45 kick, punch to round. So we're going to discuss some common mistakes. And to get a more different mistakes, you can go back to the original videos looking at the right round kick to get some different mistakes and to improve your technique. But when talking about the 45 kick versus the round kick, you have to understand that there are two different kicks. So the first mistake is going to be over pivoting for your 45 kick. If you're throwing a 45 kick and you're over pivoting, I can't even control my stance that way. So make sure it's a slight pivot. You don't have to over pivot on that 45 kick. The second mistake when throwing that 45 kick is over dropping your hands. You're going to find that kick you're going to use more to set up your punches and stay tight. So this way I can attack and still follow with my hands before and after. That's one of the biggest benefits. And the second, if you don't keep your hands up, you need to be able to defend. So the 45 kick is a good kick to work versus punches. So if my opponent is very punch oriented, I can defend my head and chop away. The third mistake I'm going to talk about is the lean back. Usually when people throw this 45 kick, they tend to lean back, which puts your body in a terrible position and, causes the first two mistakes to happen. So make sure you keep your body frame a little bit higher, and this way you're not leaning back. Because if you're leaning back, you're not getting enough power, and it's going to put you off balance if your opponent's going to counter. The last mistake is just make sure you use your calves. In order to get good power on that 45 kick, you got to get up on that front toe. That's going to bring your power into the technique. If you stay flat-footed on that, you're not going to get as much drive from your hips and the power from the ground. So make sure you follow these guidelines in order to get a good 45 kick. Wow. There you go, episode 27 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and we're still talking about changing levels. And remember, different angles, different variations of each technique will give you a different outcome, different effect, and it's just going to make you a more technical fighter, being able to create openings a lot better. So the 45 kick, let's get under those elbows. You can set them up with round kicks, variations to all your weapons. Each will work better in different situations. So keep practicing different angles, keep working those drills. Next episode, we'll talk a little bit more about landing body punches, shovel hooks and hooks to the body, different variations of that. So hope you like the series and continue to like, comment, share with your friends, and make sure you support bazookasquad.com. If you like these shirts, make sure you purchase one. We'll see you next week. Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing, episode 29. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes, and we're going to do a 3-part low kick system. And the first episode, we're going to focus on holding with the pads, and one of my favorite ways to hold, and I call it a single pad drill. So back with Matt Special for this video. And the way Matt's going to hold is you're going to have your partner, if he turns this way, he's going to hold the pad with the handle at the hip. You really want to focus on hitting up on the higher part of the leg. A big mistake people make is they hold too low. So let's get the pad holding at the hip. So to start the low kick in the most basic way is to start with a center line step. And I'm going to show you 3 different variations. And for this part, I'm going to have Matt just standing his ground. And it's going to be me stepping in to get power and me exiting, which is the key to a good low kick. So the big mistake that people make when they first come is they stand right in front of the target, they kick and they stand here. You're not going to get any power, there's no transfer weight in the footwork, and you're never going to have a good solid low kick that's going to do any damage. So the first thing I need to do is step. So I'm going to step, and I'm going to be slightly on the ball of my foot, a little bit of space between my heel. I don't want to be completely flat on my foot. I'll show you different variations near the end of the episode. But the most basic, I'm stepping on the ball of my foot, lengthening my stance. With a lengthened stance, I get more power. I relate it to swinging a baseball. If I'm trying to hit a home run in baseball, if I have a little short swing like this, it's more of a chopping, it's more of that bunt. When I'm looking for a home run, I need to be able to load up my swing, get full rotation in my hips. So when doing these steps, I want you to remember there's different ways of throwing it. So when I step on the ball of my foot, I'm hitting more with my instep. I can step, hit deeper with my shin. Everywhere you hit with a different place on the shin will give you a different effect. So the first one is a center line step, instep. That'll be my setup low kick. You're gonna notice when I do my setup low kick, there's not much pivot on this front foot. The reason why there's no pivot, I want to stay defensive here so I can hit you and stay defensive, or I can mix up my punches really quickly. So not that much of a pivot on that setup. And I'm hitting with the bottom of my foot. So this is my setup low kick. Okay, now to get a different effect, I'm going to step a little deeper and I'm going to add a little pivot now. Okay. Now I have two options. I can step and pivot with my kick. So I'm stepping, straight foot pointing forward. I'm not stepping this way. I'm not stepping out this way yet. So I'm stepping here and I pivot. I'm stepping in, hitting with a different part of my shin. All different effects. So I have center line setup. I have center line pivot. And my third one is I'm going to step into a pivot. Automatically opens up my hips. So first one, I stay centered, I don't pivot, my setup. Pivot on the second, and my third, I'm stepping on my heel. This way I get a nice round kick built in, and I'm gonna just mix the three. So that's the one variation. Now, again, I want you to really remember finish versus setup low kicks. And I'm going to really show a little bit more detail what that means before I show you angles. So setup, I can hit high, middle, or low. I have three options of where I want to hit. And the key is you want to find the one that's doing the most damage and be repetitive. So if I'm hitting this target, I want to keep focusing on it. I'm hitting it with my setup. When I know the leg's there, boom, I can step in and get more effect on that low kick. So center line stepping. The other option you have to get more damage with the low kick, not only changing the placement on your shin is, but changing the angle. If I want a quicker low kick, which again, I'm going to use that word setup low kick, I'm not going to bring the kick as round. By bringing the kick rounder, it opens me up a little bit more with my defense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with my angles. I might change the angles of my kick, all different effect. So now I have a step I can change. I have where on my shin am I landing and what angle am I throwing the low kick. So when someone says throw a low kick, really there's hundreds of different variations you can do based on where you even hit on the leg. If you hit higher up near the hip, it's going to do different type of damage than when you're going to do throwing the knee. So find what works, play around with it, use different parts of your shin, different cut down, different angle. That's why the low kick can be used in so many different variations. Okay? So that's the first part, get a good solid line stepping. The second one now is I'm going to take my angle. So if I use a line on the floor, so if I use this line in the mat, right, my center line stepping, I'm stepping on the line. I'm kicking, I'm stepping back. You got to remember, I like to use this T line. So I'm stepping over, center line, kicking, and back. So I'm adding an enter and exit, and I'm using a straight center line. Now, what I'm going to do for this variation is I'm going to step outside to the left of center line. This way it gets my head off center line, so if someone's throwing a nice punch, you can get your head off center line, and it's going to give a different effect. So again, I can use those three different steps I talked about in the first series. No pivot, step to pivot, and step into the pivot. So the three different variations. So I'm stepping off to the line. Playing with the different angles of my shin as well. Okay, if Matt comes this way, I'm going to do some of the angles. You can probably see me step off to the side and get more angled power. I'm going to mix these now. This angle now you see it, I'm just going to mix them with my first set and then let them flow. So center line as well as stepping to the left, flowing with different types of variations. Okay, the last one I'm going to do is I'm going to get to the right of the center line. So I have center, left. This one here, I'm going to step off on this back foot and then crack the right leg. So if Matt's here, I'm going to step out with my back foot, change my angle, and then now I have a nice solid outside attack with my low kick. So back foot steps out, chop. All right, now we're gonna do the drill where I'm gonna mix in all of them. So I'm gonna mix in sometimes center, sometimes stepping out, sometimes take my right side angle, and we're gonna move a little bit more now. So Matt's gonna move, circle around, and I'm gonna find my low kick timing. Okay, it's gonna be still very stationary, not too much of movement, very subtle. You can see I'm constantly keeping my distance. Very subtle movements. Welcome back to episode 28 of the Bazooka Kickboxing Series, back again with Abiel Delgado. And our last episode was talking about the 45 kick versus the round kick. And in that episode, I talked a lot about elbow positioning as a way to vary your kick in order to land that strike better. So the same concept is going to go with landing our left hook to the body a little bit more. So we're going to work left hooks to the body to attack the liver, and we're going to add in the shovel punch. And that's going to determine from the positioning of your opponent's elbows. But just to warm up, we're going to go, and Abiel's just using a body shield here, which is the easiest way. And there's different targets. So the first one is we're going to throw a little bit more round. So this is where I'm focusing more on the outside, hitting those obliques, the ribs on the outside. I'm not gonna talk too much about the technical side of it because we covered it in 2 other episodes. So if you're watching this episode and you want to know more about the technique, go back a few episodes, watch the changing levels with the left hook, as well as the left hook episode early on in the series. So I'm going to load up and I'm just going to focus on attacking more round. This is more when your opponent has his elbows a little tighter. It's hard to tell here, but when we do partner drills, we'll see it. But it's more when your elbows, partner's elbows are more pinned. They're covering their liver with their elbow. This way I'm going to shoot around. Get my head off the center and shoot around. The other shot I'm going to mix up is more of that shovel hook. So that first one is coming more round. The second one, I'm keeping my elbow a little tighter to my body, and I'm gonna come more of a shovel. This is your shovel punch. So you're gonna mix up the angle. Sometimes you might shoot it straight to the body. Sometimes I might angle it a little bit. Usually that little bit of an angle instead of going straight will hit that liver a little nicer, and you get more damage with that shot. So when I'm doing this drill now, I'm gonna constantly mix up my angles. I'll come round, I'll come on the inside, more on a 45. So constantly change angles. And this is not just about the lead side, we're gonna mix in our power side as well. So I can shovel to the body this way, round, and play with different angles. So here we go. I usually like to start with singles to get comfortable with it. After I get comfortable with my singles, I'll start adding doubles, triples, and I'll start alternating sides. A little bit more angles. I'm even changing it up. I might go round on my right side, shoveled on my left side, constantly changing up. I might double up the same hand. Might go round inside, round, round, shovel, shovel, round, shovel, constantly mixing them up. All right, once I'm comfortable, I can add more set combinations. And one of the best ways to dig the body is to get your opponent's elbows and positioning up. So the way we're gonna drill this with the pads is we're gonna set up our body punches with straight punches. The most simple is to start with the jab. So I can start with my jab, come in and rip the body on angles. Okay. And as the pad holder, you could always call as the coach saying, if you want more of the round or shovel, you can call it out or allow your fighter to just, you know, flow and mix up on his own. Okay, we're gonna add a 1-2. Okay, now that Aviel doesn't have the body pad on, you can see his elbow positioning and how the punches are going to land. So he has his arms tight here. Wherever his hand position is, you can find. So if I throw my traditional hook to the body and the liver shot, he has it defended. So you have to use a little bit more strategy. So from here, I could mix it up. If his elbow position's there, I might, boom, I might shovel, which causes him to defend in here, and then I have my shot here. So the important part is being precise with your punches to get the best benefit. Don't just hit the guard. And that's the biggest mistake when people are doing drills. They end up hitting the partner's defense because they want to make them feel comfortable, but you're not really learning to set up the punches. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start just as we ended off, and I'm going to use straight punches. And depending on how Aviel defends my punches is how I'm going to attack the body. So this is the drill. You can start at set combinations just like we did outside. So if you're a coach watching this video, you can just have a set combination. So some of my favorite setup combinations would be jab to the head. I have my body shot. I can go 1-2, hit the body, right? I can go off my right hand, shoot different angles. So as a coach, you can start it as a set, but because I want to get through the series a little bit quicker, and otherwise the series will be many, many years and it'll never end. But I'm gonna just flow with it. And to make this drill more advanced, and this is what I do more with my advanced pro fighters, let them be the artist. And the problem is if you overcoach your guys sometimes, it confuses them. So let your fighters be themselves, a little bit more natural, and let the drill unfold. So I'm gonna use my straight punches and I'm gonna react to his defense. Now for some of my more advanced followers, you can mix in some angles here. So I can shoot up here and angle off if I want. I can even mix in some hooks to set up the body punches. Just constantly change. I want Aviel reacting a little bit more to the punch. And you can tell I'm not throwing all of my straight punches with a lot of power. I'm touching. And then when I see an opening, I'll rip the body to the opening. Okay, Aviel, few back. And the last part of this drill that you can add is after you hit the body, it's important to teach your fighters to go to the head. So I set up my punches to the head, I find the body positioning. Now from here, I want to make sure I finish back to the head for the knockout. So let's build that in. Aviel and I will just combo back and forth. I go, he goes. So Aviel's back on the long bag. Same strategy that we started off and ended with. He's going to use his straight punches to set up his body. And once he hits the body, he's going to finish with a head combination. So head, body, head. And he's going to constantly change angles with his body punches. I want him to use his right punches to the body a little bit more. So his right shovel punch, right hook to the body. And remember, combinations are endless. Constantly mix up different variations. You might double up your right hand, double up your left hand. You could even, after you hit the body or the head, I want Aviel to finish with his low kick. Boom. That's one variation. Another variation, I'm going to get him to start with his low kick, then go to his hands and finish low kick. So kick, punch, kick. But I want him focusing on the body after the low kick. Beautiful. Changing levels and building combinations. All right, so I'm going to be using the wall pad to demonstrate some body punches. I want you to understand, when I'm using this, I'm envisioning my opponent. So if I'm picturing these are his elbows, I could mix around the elbow, I can hit on my liver, or I can shovel here. So constantly changing angles with my body punch. I'm going to set them up with high punches. One thing I like about this bag is after I hit the body, I have the option of uppercuts, because hitting the body and following uppercut is a very good strategy to hit that chin. Okay, discussing some common mistakes when attacking the body using the shovel versus your round hooks. It's the same as the other hook positioning, and so I'm going to talk about when hitting the body, having your hand positioning drop. Big mistake, because when you're attacking the body, you're in close range, you're in punch range, your partner's going to counter. Usually when you see those double knockouts, it's usually because two people are throwing hooks at the same time. So make sure your hand position's nice and tight. The second mistake when attacking the body is not using this rotation in your body. If you're just punching the body like this, there's no power and you're not going to do enough damage to the body. The good part about the body, and a lot of times if you don't knock out your opponent to the body, what happens is it brings their hand position down, which opens the head, which leads to the other mistake, is hitting the body. And that's it. If you hit the body, it opens up so many different areas and holes in your opponent's guard. So hit the body, go back to the head. So that's why we're throwing a lot of head, body, head combinations. Or if I hit the body, maybe I'll go to another level like my low kick. So the body really opens up other targets and it'll allow you to get those knockouts a lot easier. The last one I want to talk about is being predictable with your body punching combinations. Make sure you change it up. Don't always go left, right, left. Change the cadence, change the rhythm, change the angle. The more you change, the harder it is for your opponent to adapt, the more effective your body punches are going to be, which again will lead to more knockouts in the end. That's episode 28 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, talking about body hooks and shovel punches. Remember, change your combinations up, vary up the angles. The more you change the angle, the harder it is for your opponent to defend. Get their elbows in, hit the outside. Open their elbows, hit the inside. Finish to the head, finish to the leg. Constantly change up your rhythm, the tempo, which we'll get into more in a later episode. But next week, we're gonna probably do a few-part series, and I'm gonna talk about my favorite weapon, which is the low kick. So looking forward to share it, and we're gonna do multiple parts of that. So stay tuned, and yeah, keep practicing, keep liking, keep sharing. Let's get this viewership up. Support the cause, bazookasquad.com. Support the guys behind the camera, DB Vault, and we'll see you next week. Episode 30 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. We're talking about part 2 of the low kick. Last episode we talked about different ways to throw: enter, exit, stationary, left, center, and to the right. Different parts of the shin, different angles. If you missed part 1, watch it because it'll help you out in part 2. And today's going to be about different ways to work it on the bag and with your partner. So let's get started right away. One of my favorite ways to work the low kick is working it on a stationary bag. This will let you get the most power you possibly can in the kick, and it lets you control the distance of your low kick as well. If it's a moving target, it's a little bit harder to find the placement on your shin, but on this bag you can see it. So I'm going to start from what I taught you last week, and I'm going to mix in setup versus finish. So long setup, I'm using my instep. Less pivot. When I finish, I'm going to step in, have a little bit more of a pivot, and I'm going to come down and use higher up on my shin. Set up versus finish, changing the angles. Now, to make this drill a little bit more advanced, just like the other episodes, you can change level with it. Mix head kicks, body kicks, and low kicks. Change the variation up. So if you do not have a long bag or a pole bag against the wall, you can easily do partner drills. So what I do is I have one person hit the bag and the other person can hold it. These are power sets. You're looking to get as much power as you can. One more set for Allah. As hard as you can. Keep your hand position nice and tight. Dig your shin into the bag. Time. So now we're going to use the long bag, but instead of a stationary target like I showed you, now we're going to get the bag to move. This is going to give us more opportunities to use our low kick timing. So the first type of movement we're going to use in the bag is one we talked about last episode, which is the enter and the exit. So if the bag is moving, I'm creating space, boom, I'm drawing low kick. That's called my draw low kick. So the bag's moving, I draw back, boom, draw low kick. The second one is the exit. So I can stand here, I can push the bag, and I hit the bag as it's moving away from me. So 2 timings, attacking as the bag comes in, draw low kick, and then exit low kick. Draw low kick, exit low kick. Okay? Mixing in, playing with the bag. Let me flow with it just to show you how the drill works. Okay. The second option we're going to do is I'm going to have the bag moving left and right. We showed that with our introduction to the low kick in the corner of the ring. So now I'm going to get the bag moving this way. I'm going to try to time the bag as it's moving this way or meet it with my shin to get more effect. So I'm going to play with the lateral movement of the bag. The last bag drill is going to be mixing in your punches. And when talking about low kicks, we're going to talk about different ways to set up your hands in your low kicks. The most obvious way is to set them up with your punches. So you can do any punch to low kick combination you would like. And now to make your combinations better, make sure you go back to the series and watch the section on building combinations. This way your combinations have a purpose, your combinations flow better. So go back, watch building combinations, and this is our punch to kick combinations. Okay, the second variation for the combination is I'm going to do kick to punch. So I'm going to lead with my low kick, follow with my hands. The last one is I'm going to kick, punch, finish with my low kick again. So low kick, punch combination, low kick. I can build in enter, exit, draw, kick, exit. So now I'm merging the different drills together. Kick punch combination using the bag movement. So one of my favorite ways to hold for low kicks, I call it single pad, where I don't actually put them on. I hold the handles. This way it's easy for me to hold for low kicks. It takes some time to learn this style, but try it out. And learn the system. You're going to find it very easy to hold for different kicks. So Matt's going to be a southpaw, so I'm just going to do my other stance. But make sure you go back to part one and learn the enter and exit timing for this. So what it looks like is Matt pulls me in, he chops the leg. If he steps forward, I back up, he hits the leg. So that's my timing for this. Go back to part one, review that. But this is going to be about using our punches to set up our low kicks. So the first one we're going to do is the very basic. It's going to be jab, low kick. And we're going to mix in different variations to throw. So very simple. I can add double jab, low kick, jab, hook, low kick. So I'm using lead hand to low kick is one of my favorite ways to land them. Reason why I like it is as you shoot this shoulder, your rear hip stays loaded, which gives you more power in your low kick. So step one, you just get the timing of the low kick. Part two, lead hand to low kick. Lead hand can mean body, jab, hook to the head, uppercut, any lead hand to low kick. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build in punch more volume with the punches. So let's go 1, 2, hook, low kick. Good. Moving around, punch to kick. Good. And now you can do any punch combination. Some of my favorites is going to be, let's go hook, cross, hook, hook, cross, hook. Low kick is one, jab, cross, hook, low kick, any punch to kick combination. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some kick, punch, kick combinations. So we're going to start with our kick, and it's going to be starting with that setup low kick. Setup low kick, quickly fire the hands, and then we're going to finish the low kick. More of a finish low kick, so Matt's going to use higher shin, cut down the angle a little bit. So let's take it slow. So the first one is going to be that setup. Less pivot, hands nice and tight. Set up low kick. From here, he's going to fire his hands. Let's go hook, cross, hook, cross, hook. And then from here, he's going to chop down, use his high shin. Set up, hands to low kick finish. Now, I could even build that first one in using enter and exit. So Matt's gonna draw me in for the low kick, set up, boom, fire his hands, finishes with the kick. Now he can do the same thing by drawing me on an exit. He comes in, I exit out, boom, comes in, throws his finish combination. So now you're gonna notice part one of the low kick series and part two are coming together. Now I'm just gonna get Matt to flow for about 30 seconds of just some different combinations we'll throw. So what I'm gonna do now, this drill is a little bit more on using the low kick to set up the hands. In the last series where Matt was hitting the pads and I was holding the single, the emphasis is on the low kick. So you're using your hands to set up the low kick and finish. This drill is more of a controlled low kick, but putting more emphasis on the hands. So all it's doing is taking the emphasis. The first one is the low kick. This one is now using the low kick to set up your hands. So you can put emphasis on different parts of the combination to get a totally different effect. So one of the basic ones, again, if you're with someone who's not as conditioned in their legs, the person punching can use low kicks, or there's kicking shields now that these partners can hold. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a nice controlled setup low kick to Matt's leg. So I'm just gonna touch from here. I'm gonna fire out my hand combinations, which is gonna be hook, cross, hook. So I'm waiting. And remember, we can build in enter and exit. So I'm gonna build in a draw attack. So Matt draws in. As soon as he steps in, I touch. Boom, boom, boom. I fire my hands right off of that. From here, I draw him in. Now from here, I could even add my finish low kick now. So draw in, set up, hook, cross, hook, finish low kick. I could even change the punch combination. Let's go uppercut, cross, hook. Same concept. Now you can mix it up. I can do straight punches with just one hand. I can touch the leg, double jab, low kick, jab hook, low kick. The whole point of this is not what combination you're throwing. It's using the low kick to set up the hands. Matt and I are just gonna flow, and I'm gonna let him coach me for the next minute.
Double jab. Jab, swing.
Some common mistakes in this episode using the low kick and all the different bag work is really understanding that distance control. You want to know and dictate the space between you and the bag. So that's why we do a lot of the drills moving laterally, because when you're fighting, it's so dynamic. No one is ever just standing in front of you. Your opponent moves, you got to be able to use your low kicks and your distance control when people move. That's the first one. The second one has to do with that, and that's not building in an exit. When you kick, you just stop. And if you stop, you're allowing your partner to counter, throw low kicks of their own. So when I build in my low kicks, finish, whether I set it up after my finish, I want to build in that exit this way there's more distance and I can block and control myself. The last part is this hand control. Because you're throwing so much volume in combinations, you want to make sure your hands are tight throughout. You want to avoid your partner coming in and countering. So make sure your hand position is tight, your distance is in good control, and you build in those exits. There you go, part 2 of the Bazooka Kickboxing low kick system. Really focused on different drills and bag works and partner bag work and pad work you can do. Make sure you follow both episodes. Timing is important. Drills are important. So next week we're going to add partner drills. We're going to show how you can take this pad work and build it into sparring drills and build them into your fights so you can finish your opponents with low kicks. Episode 30 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, we're talking about part 2 of the low kick. Last episode we talked about different ways to throw: enter, exit, stationary, left, center, and to the right. Different parts of the shin, different angles. If you missed part 1, watch it because it'll help you out in part 2. And today's going to be about different ways to work it on the bag and with your partner. So let's get started right away. One of my favorite ways to work the low kick is working it on a stationary bag. This will let you get the most power you possibly can in the kick, and it lets you control the distance of your low kick as well. If it's a moving target, it's a little bit harder to find the placement on your shin, but on this bag you can see it. So I'm going to start from what I taught you last week, and I'm going to mix in setup versus finish. So long setup, I'm using my instep. Less pivot. When I finish, I'm going to step in, have a little bit more of a pivot, and I'm going to come down and use higher up on my shin. Set up versus finish, changing the angles. Now, to make this drill a little bit more advanced, just like the other episodes, you can change level with it. Mix head kicks, body kicks, and low kicks. Change the variation up. So if you do not have a long bag or a pole bag against the wall, you can easily do partner drills. So what I do is I have one person hit the bag and the other person can hold it. These are power sets. You're looking to get as much power as you can. One more set for Allah. As hard as you can. Keep your hand position nice and tight. Dig your shin into the bag. Time. So now we're going to use the long bag, but instead of a stationary target like I showed you, now we're going to get the bag to move. This is going to give us more opportunities to use our low kick timing. So the first type of movement we're going to use in the bag is one we talked about last episode, which is the enter and the exit. So if the bag is moving, I'm creating space, boom, I'm drawing low kick. That's called my draw low kick. So the bag's moving, I draw back, boom, draw low kick. The second one is the exit. So I can stand here, I can push the bag, and I hit the bag as it's moving away from me. So 2 timings, attacking as the bag comes in, draw low kick, and then exit low kick. Draw low kick, exit low kick. Okay? Mixing in, playing with the bag. Let me flow with it just to show you how the drill works. Okay. The second option we're going to do is I'm going to have the bag moving left and right. We showed that with our introduction to the low kick in the corner of the ring. So now I'm going to get the bag moving this way. I'm going to try to time the bag as it's moving this way or meet it with my shin to get more effect. So I'm going to play with the lateral movement of the bag. The last bag drill is going to be mixing in your punches. And when talking about low kicks, we're going to talk about different ways to set up your hands in your low kicks. The most obvious way is to set them up with your punches. So you can do any punch to low kick combination you would like. And now to make your combinations better, make sure you go back to the series and watch this section on building combinations. This way your combinations have a purpose, your combinations flow better. So go back, watch building combinations, and this is our punch to kick combinations. Okay, the second variation for the combination is I'm going to do kick to punch. So I'm going to lead with my low kick, follow with my hands. The last one is I'm going to kick, punch, finish with my low kick again. So low kick, punch combination, low kick. I can build in enter, exit, draw, kick, exit. So now I'm merging the different drills together. Kick punch combination using the bag movement. So one of my favorite ways to hold for low kicks, I call it single pad, where I don't actually put them on. I hold the handles. This way it's easy for me to hold for low kicks. It takes some time to learn this style, but try it out. And learn the system. You're going to find it very easy to hold for different kicks. So Matt's going to be a southpaw, so I'm just going to do my other stance. But make sure you go back to part one and learn the enter and exit timing for this. So what it looks like is Matt pulls me in, he chops the leg. If he steps forward, I back up, he hits the leg. So that's my timing for this. Go back to part one, review that. But this is going to be about using our punches to set up our low kicks. So the first one we're going to do is the very basic. It's going to be jab, low kick. And we're going to mix in different variations to throw. So very simple. I can add double jab, low kick, jab, hook, low kick. So I'm using lead hand to low kick. Is one of my favorite ways to land them. Reason why I like it is as you shoot this shoulder, your rear hip stays loaded, which gives you more power in your low kick. So step one, you just get the timing of the low kick. Part two, lead hand to low kick. Lead hand can mean body, jab, hook to the head, uppercut, any lead hand to low kick. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build in punch more volume with the punches. So let's go 1, 2, hook, low kick. Good. Moving around, punch to kick. Good. And now you can do any punch combination. Some of my favorites is going to be, let's go hook, cross, hook, hook, cross, hook. Low kick is one, jab, cross, hook, low kick, any punch to kick combination. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some kick, punch, kick combinations. So we're going to start with our kick, and it's going to be starting with that setup low kick. Setup low kick, quickly fire the hands, and then we're going to finish the low kick. More of a finished low kick, so Matt's going to use higher shin, cut down the angle a little bit. So let's take it slow. So the first one is going to be that setup. Less pivot, hands nice and tight. Setup low kick. From here, he's going to fire his hands. Let's go hook, cross, hook, cross, hook, and then from here, he's going to chop down, use his high shin. Setup, hands to low kick finish. Now, I could even build that first one in using enter and exit. So Matt's going to draw me in for the low kick, set up, boom, fire his hands, finishes with the kick. Now, he can do the same thing by drawing me on an exit. He comes in, I exit out, boom, comes in, throws his finish combination. So now you're going to notice part one of the low kick series and part two are coming together. Now, I'm just going to get Matt to flow for about 30 seconds of just some different combinations we'll throw. So what I'm going to do now, this drill is a little bit more on using the low kick to set up the hands. In the last series where Matt was hitting the pads and I was holding the single, the emphasis is on the low kick. So you're using your hands to set up the low kick and finish. This drill is more of a controlled low kick, but putting more emphasis on the hands. So all it's doing is taking the emphasis. The first one is the low kick. This one is now using the low kick to set up your hands. So you can put emphasis on different parts of the combination to get a totally different effect. So one of the basic ones, again, if you're with someone who's not as conditioned in their legs, the person punching can use low kicks, or there's kicking shields now that these partners can hold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a nice controlled setup low kick to Matt's leg. So I'm just going to touch from here. I'm going to fire out my hand combinations, which is going to be hook, cross, hook. So I'm waiting. And remember, we can build in enter and exit. So I'm going to build in a draw attack. So Matt draws in. As soon as he steps in, I touch. Boom, boom, boom. I fire my hands right off of that. From here, I draw him in. Now from here, I could even add my finish low kick now. So draw in, set up, hook, cross, hook, finish low kick. I could even change the punch combination. Let's go uppercut, cross, hook. Same concept. Now you can mix it up. I can do straight punches with just one hand. I can touch the leg, double jab, low kick, jab hook, low kick. The whole point of this is not what combination you're throwing. It's using the low kick to set up the hands. Matt and I are just going to flow, and I'm going to let him coach me for the next minute.
Double jab. Drawing, jab, close, swing.
Some common mistakes in this episode using the low kick and all the different bag work is really understanding that distance control. You want to know and dictate the space between you and the bag. So that's why we do a lot of the drills moving laterally, because when you're fighting, it's so dynamic. No one is ever just standing in front of you. Your opponent moves, you got to be able to use your low kicks and your distance control when people move. That's the first one. The second one has to do with that, and that's not building in an exit. When you kick, you just stop. And if you stop, you're allowing your partner to counter, throw low kicks of their own. So when I build in my low kicks, finish, whether I set it up, after my finish, I want to build in that exit. This way there's more distance and I can block and control myself. The last part is this hand control. Because you're throwing so much volume in combinations, you want to make sure your hands are tight throughout. You want to avoid your partner coming in and countering. So make sure your hand position is tight, your distance is in good control, and you build in those exits. There you go, part 2 of the Bazooka Kickboxing low kick system. Really focused on different drills and bag works and partner bag work and pad work you can do. Make sure you follow both episodes. Timing is important, drills are important. So next week we're gonna add partner drills. We're gonna show how you can take this pad work and build it into sparring drills and build them into your fights so you can finish your opponents with low kicks. Welcome to episode 31 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, part 3 of the low kick system. Hope you guys enjoyed the first 2 parts of the series because today is going to be about partner drilling. So in order to have good partner drilling, it's important to make sure your low kick technique and the different strategies of setting up the low kick has been learned. So welcome to part 3 of the series. And the low kick is going to be about finding the leg off of your partner's step. And this is going to be the main purpose of this drilling. So for start now, I'm going to explain without shin guards, and then Aviel and I are going to put on shin guards so we can do more proper drilling to show you. So the first part of the low kick I'm going to talk about is that draw attack. We did that on pads, but we're going to do it now with our partner. So what we're looking for when landing the low kick is I want to time my partner's step. When your partner steps, they can't block. So if they're stepping forward to you, boom, that's my timing of my low kick. Now, if they're waiting and I throw, it's easy now for Aviel to block because he's on his back position. He can block. So what I want him to do is I want him to step forward. Now I have a free low kick. So the low kick key is the timing, not necessarily how you hit it. Yes, the technique's important, but in order to land a good low kick, you need good timing. So let's get the first basis of this, and it's going to be the timing step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up, create step, and hit my leg. So that's called a draw step low kick. The second one I'm going to discuss is going to be more of a exit style low kick, where if I close distance and Aviel backs up, that's the timing of my kick. So I have an enter low kick and I have exit low kicks, both being timed when my opponent can't block. And the third one I'm going to show you is going to be in the ring, and it's going to be using ring control as a way to land the low kick. So those are the 3 parts of today's session. Before we get into the 3 parts of the timing and the drilling of the low kick, it's important to warm up the low kick. So Aviel and I are just going to go back and forth, just working on taking the leg back and forth. Sometimes I might block, sometimes I'm just going to land. So my opponent has to, or my partner needs to adjust between blocking and taking the kicks. And if you remember from the other videos, I can change up my steps. I have my center line step. I can step out to my right, or I could finish. And remember, I'm changing the angle of where I'm on my shin. I might hit my instep, mid shin, and then I have a nice deep shin, nice high shin on the top of the leg. And remember, not only am I changing where I land on my shin, I'm changing the angle of my kick as well as where I land on the leg. So you can see so many different variations that we're just working on different ones. After we got some legs, we're gonna mix up just one lead hand, low kick, whether it's a hook or a jab. Okay, now we're going to mix up any punch to kick combination. Last one, low kick, punch, low kick. And time. Okay, now that we're warmed up with our low kick, we're going to start the first of the 3 different parts of our partner drilling. And this is using the enter. So we're using my partner's or opponent's step or we're using their punch, because when someone punches, they need to step. So timing number one, attack the step. So in order to do that, I'm gonna use my draw attack. So I'm gonna back up and force Abiel to step towards me. And as soon as he steps, that's the timing of my kick. Now that step can come from getting closer to me, or that step can come with a jab. So if Abiel jabs, boom, I take the leg. Boom, taking the leg. So I'm timing the step is the key. So just the first drill number one person is gonna jab, the other person is just gonna take the leg. And I'm gonna vary all my different low kicks. So if he jabs, I wanna look at this as a fight. So when he jabs in the beginning of a fight, the last thing I wanna do is commit hard to a hard low kick. I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know how hard his jabs are. I need to respect his power. So I'm gonna use more of that setup low kick I talked in the beginning. Once I find the leg and I find the timing of my low kick, that's when I'm gonna just attack with my higher shin, start changing angles. So you're gonna see through this little 30-second drill how I change my low kicks as my timing improves throughout the round. Okay, now to end this drill, it's very simple. I want you to look at 3 different times you could attack the leg. And we're gonna use the jab as an example. So the jab comes. As he throws a jab, you can see there's a slight delay from when the step comes to when the punch happens. Do it again. Boom, and the punch. So I'm gonna attack the leg before the punch even comes out. Boom! I'm timing, I'm using my speed to shut down his jab before it even comes. Timing 1. So he goes, boom! I'm stopping before the jab comes. Timing 2 is as the punch comes out, that's when I'm timing my hand position. Now, just a little key, we're gonna get into this more as the series progresses, but I need you to see, you're gonna parry off the jab, or you can use your shield and keep your hand tight. But ultimately, I need to watch out for this hand, so I could either move my head, get off center line, or step out. Or what I like to do, one of my favorites, is I like to block with my shield and my wedge block in order to stop the punch and land. So timing 2 as it comes out. Okay? Timing 3 is going to be after. So I'm gonna back up, I'm gonna create space so the jab misses me, and now I have time. So jab, boom, I'm out. Now I have my time. That's after. So before, boom, during, after. 3 different ways to attack the enter. So now you're gonna repeat the drill, but this time, change up the different times and the way you hit the leg, before, during, and after. Now that you perfected the enter, what happens now, you want to be able to capitalize and use your low kick on the exit. So what's going to happen now, there's 2 ways I can, well, 3 ways I can get my opponent to move back, or I'm going to move back to create space. The first one is I crash distance. If this is the space my partner and I are used to, if I step in, some people might stay there, which is you know, a lot of good pressure fighters might stand their ground and not to move. But most people are gonna back up and exit. As they go to exit, boom, I take the leg as they exit. So that's an exit low kick. So really, I can mix it too. So Abiel steps in, boom, I enter him on the exit, I move, I just hit him on the exit. So enter versus exit. That's the easiest way to see what I mean by enter and exit low kicks. So that's one. I crash distance and he goes back, I hit the exit. The second way I can do it, and I just talked about those fighters who don't like to move back. So say I step in and Abiel doesn't move back. I'm gonna use something called a shield bump, or I can push off. So you see a lot of Thai fighters use their hands, push off, and attack. So they'll use their hand position to pin their hands, create space, and attack. One of my favorite ways I call the shield bump. So if I move in and he's not here, I'm gonna keep my hand position tight. I'm gonna push him off with my shield and attack with my low kick. Still creating space, still creating an exit for me to land my low kick. Instead of him exiting on his own will, I'm forcing him to exit. And if you see his foot position, as soon as I push him back, okay, he's reacting to it because he knows the drill. But mostly, people are just gonna end up falling back with their foot position, and it's gonna land that low kick very easily. So that's a free low kick. The other way I can create this is exiting myself. So if he's stronger than me and he's bigger than me and I crash distance and he doesn't want to move and I'm trying to push him and he won't go, I'm going to create an exit. So I'm going to pull my lead foot back. It's almost like a switch kick. It's like a half kick, a moon. I switch and I exit. So if I'm in close and then Abiel goes to power punch, boom, I can create my exit now, and now I have an exit low kick. So I'm creating the space rather than he is. So 10-second recap. I can hit him on the enter. Okay, I can hit him on the exit. If he doesn't move, I have shield bumps. If he doesn't move, I could exit. Sometimes he might move. I hit my exit. So those are the different ways you're gonna attack on enter and exit. Now you're gonna do the same drill that you did before, adding the enter and the exit. I'm gonna just drill for about 30 seconds to show you how I attack him on an enter and how I attack on an exit. Jabs. So part 3 of the low kick now is going to be using the rings, the ropes and the ring to control your opponent into your low kick. And this is part of the bigger system that I use for my ring control and pressure fighting. So I'm going to force my opponent to move. And as soon as they move, they're going to be punished. So say I'm in the corner here now and I have this side shut off. If I stand in the middle, my partner can move to my left and my partner can move to my right. He can exit both ways. So what I'm going to do for this drill is I'm going to shut down my left side, which now leaves my partner or my opponent with one door to exit out of. Now, if he's going to stand there, I'm just going to touch straight punches. I can stay active and I'm going to wait. I'm going to use a lot of left hooks because I want to force my opponent to step this way. And guess what's coming as soon as my partner steps? As soon as he steps out, I'm timing that leg. I'm punishing him for exiting. So if he stands here, he's going to eat punches. If he steps out, bang, I take the low kick and it's a free low kick. Some common mistakes when working on partner drilling for the low kick. The first one is going to be not changing up the style of low kick. And the biggest problem is always throwing the low kick the same way. You need to change where you land on your shin. You need to change the angle of the kick and change the timing, which is very important. The second thing is when you drill with your partner, don't go so hard at first. Work with your partner. After 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of drilling, your leg can get really sore. Even if they're light, the accumulation of the low kick can hurt your partner's leg. But it's also a positive thing because it helps toughen your legs. And all of these drills help you in your fight to develop that strongness, that kung, that type of armor you need to be able to fight in high-level kickboxing. So keep hitting each other's legs slowly. Don't over-damage each other's legs. The third thing is not changing the timing enough, and that's going to If you always attack on the enter, your partner gets used to it. They might be ready to land a nice straight right, because a good timing counter off of my low kick is someone throwing their straight right. So if they know the timing, it's easier for them to counter off that and to shut your low kick down. So build in the enter, exits, before, during, after, constantly change it up. There you have it, episode 31 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and that concludes the 3-part low kick system. I'm going to revisit the low kick as the series goes down because it's a big part of Bazooka Kickboxing style and the foundation. I'm going to hit on more about using ring control and low kicks as we get to that point in the academy. But right now, use this low kick, use the timing, and use all these little tricks, especially when you're at a point when you're fighting with no shin guards. Those subtle changes of where you land your shin, the angles, the timing, all play a big difference. So keep changing it up, keep learning. And again, if you guys are really enjoying this series, let's get these likes up, let's get the subscribers up. Keep asking questions in the comments section. You can support the series by going bazookasquad.com to purchase some of the gear and the shirt that you see in the videos. And like all the other times, make sure you support DB Vault, as they're the guys behind the videos making this series possible. We'll see you next episode. All right, welcome to episode 32 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and this is going to be our last episode on changing levels, and we're going to focus on getting that left kick and attacking the back leg of your opponent or your partner. And I'm lucky to have with me Antonio Pato Carvalho, Shudo veteran, UFC champion.
Not UFC champion.
Well, I mean, UFC Canadian champion, UFC, 4 fights in the UFC, and I was able to corner him in a few of his fights, so I'm very happy to have him as part of the series. So we're going to go about that left kick, and the technical aspect of the left kick you can see in so many different episodes before. I talk about it to the body, and I also talk about changing levels with it in the changing series. So Antonio and I are just going to more flow on our different ways to attack the back leg, and I'm just going to show you some of the footwork. And the different footwork when doing it, I'll actually pull Antonio here. We're going to go on an angle. So I'm going to look at my front foot being in the center of Antonio. And if I keep my front foot here, it's very easy to attack the front leg, but you can also attack the back leg with that step. The big misconception is you have to step out to your left when throwing the left kick. So you'll see a lot of people really step out, where you do lose a lot of power on that kick. And I'm someone who I like to stay center line when attacking the back leg, but that also depends on your opponent's stance. If you have an opponent who fights with a really long stance, it's harder to hit the back leg. So if someone stands a little taller, it's easier to hit the back leg. So if someone's standing like Antonio, maybe a little bit longer in his stance, I might not stay center line because it's harder and the rear leg is further to hit. So if he has a long stance, this is more when I will step out to the side and hit the back leg. If he has a shorter stance, now it's a lot easier, and now I can stay center line and attack the back leg. So it also depends on your opponent's stance and where they are in the ring. So the 2 ways we're going to drill back and forth to get comfortable is staying center line. And when I stay center line, my back foot is going to travel straight. Okay? And now if I'm stepping off, I'm going to step my front. I can step my front foot out and then attack off of that angle, or I can switch my stance. I can switch and come off to my left. So center line, I can switch off to the left, hit the back leg, or I can sidestep out and attack the back leg. Before we add any punches for setups, we're just going to go back and forth to get comfortable finding the back leg. Okay, and when you're doing this drill, I want you to focus on landing different parts of your shin on the back leg. Sometimes I might stay and I might use my instep mid-quad. The next time I might go a little deeper and hit with my higher shin on the top. And you can also change low, middle, or high on the back leg. Now, when I really want to do the most damage with this kick, I like to get in nice and deep and get a nice high shin near the top of the leg. That's the shot that ends up doing the most damage. And why it's a really underutilized kick is because most people, Antonio's an orthodox fighter. If I hit his front leg, he's used to taking kicks off of that leg, so they usually have a tougher IT band, quadricep, in order to take those shots. But the back leg doesn't take as much damage, so maybe it might take 10 to finish the front leg, but maybe 2 or 3 to hit the back. It is a little bit more risky because I do have to get in a little bit more side, which makes me a little bit more open for punching. But if you land that leg, it takes less damage to finish. So now Antonio and I are just going to flow back and forth, and using our different setups. I can double up my left kick, use my hands, pick which ones you like, and you can go from there. A very simple one, right hand, left kick to the back leg. You have easy right hook, back leg. You can get creative, start changing levels with your punches. I can set it up with my own kicks. All right, so now we have Antonio on the wall bag, and he's just gonna mix up finding different ways to land that left kick. And as you can see, he's using his high shin sometimes he's switching, sometimes he's stepping off. The other thing, he's changing the angle of his kick. Sometimes it might float a little up, sometimes he goes a little bit more round and able to get more power and more weight behind the punch. Now, once he finds comfortable with finding it, he's gonna start adding a single punch to it. So it can be a right hand, left kick. He could even use his jab or left hook off of it. Now he's learning to flow punch to kick. Always changing up how he throws that left kick. And time. So now I'm just gonna use your traditional Thai bag, but what's really important is I'm gonna use my punches to set up this left kick. And if you watch the series, build combinations in different ways. So I want you to start changing levels with your punches. I want you to do same side attacking, either right side or left, alternating sides. So constantly change up how you throw your combinations. So there's a lot going into this. It's not just hitting the left low kick, it's how you set it up. Sometimes you can start it as a single right away, or you set it up with punches. Be creative with how you land this left kick. I can stay long and attack, or I can stay inside. Okay, so those who've seen me hold pads, I like to use more, I call it my single pad way of holding. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna constantly switch up different ways for Antonio to land this rear low kick. We'll start off finding the timing. Good, some deep shin. I can set it up with my lead hand, lead hook. I can go right hand. So this is the base of it. From here, you can mix in anything you like. So 1, 2, left kick. Oh, again. Good. I can set it up with different kicks. Oh, good. One more of those. Good. One more. Good. Jab hook. Good. Just inside. Get inside and attack. Oh, good. Stay close. Oh, good. One more. Last one. One more. Fast. Go. Good. Nice work. So some of the common mistakes when talking about attacking that rear leg is, one, you need the confidence. It's a weapon that's far away from you, so you have to be comfortable in going for it. If you're gonna hesitate and try to touch that leg, you're exposing your center line so much where you're easy to get caught with a lot of straight punches. So when doing it, you have to keep your chin down, you have to stay tight and be confident in attacking it. The second mistake is you're gonna have to set it up. Unless your opponent is fighting tall and he's dazed or he's hurt, the back leg is you have to learn to set it up. So using your punches or your kicks to get that back leg is a key. And the last thing, when you do it, don't square up. Every time people are kicking, you really need to keep your center line tight and change up the type of kick. For the most damage, you're looking for the top of your shin on your opponent's rear leg. There you have it, episode 32 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, Attacking the Rear Leg. At this point of the series, you know how to build combinations, you know how to change levels, you know how to go kick to punch, punch to kick. So the next part of this series, we're gonna talk about a little bit more of our defense. And our next episode in particular, we're gonna talk about blocking kicks and returning with our kicks. And that's episode 33. Make sure you like, subscribe, and if you like these t-shirts, bazookasquad.com. Follow the guys behind the camera at DB Vault. Episode 33 of the Bazooka Kickboxing Academy, and we're at the point now where we're learning to defend and counter back. And today's episode is going to be about leg blocks and countering with our kicks. And going back to the very first episode, we talked about box stepping and making sure our feet never cross. And this is where it's going to come really important with blocking. I never want to have my feet crossing. At this point, I don't have good leg defense at all. So I want to make sure I always box step, which means my feet never cross. When I'm going to my right, my back foot comes forward, as you can see. Other way, my feet are never crossing. Same with backwards and same with a forward position. So I could really break this down in so many different ways, but I'm going to bring leg blocking to be very simple. From our standing point in our fighting stance, I want you to bring the knee to the lead pillars, and that's going to be able to block the right kick, and I have blocking my left kick. Now for the left kick, you have two options. You can cross, and you can bring the back leg up. Why I am telling you to block knee touching elbow is because a lot of times you don't know where your opponent's going to kick. So if they throw a leg block or a body kick or a head kick, I'm defending. And that's the most basic way to teach it. As you start understanding your opponent, you might not block as high for a low kick. But if you're not sure and you're fighting someone who's constantly changing up their angles of their kick, it's the safest way is to get the knee to the point of the elbow. So I have 1, 2, and 3. So a very easy drill to teach the beginners who are watching and learning defense for the first time is do episode 1, which is the box stepping, and add the block. So I can come my different box stepping positions, 1, 2, 3. And you're gonna find the importance of good leg blocking is making sure you're always in control of your footwork. And being in control of your footwork means you have to, even when you're throwing, you have to get back to your position. You need to know the balance distribution between your rear leg and your front leg. If you watch a lot of traditional Muay Thai fighters, you see them heavy on their back leg. This is because they can block easily and counter with their lead leg. So different styles for different results. So if I'm a kickboxer, so I like to stand a little bit more heavy on my front leg, which makes it a little bit more difficult to block. So episode 2, we talked about defensive versus offensive footwork. All of this is very important. Now, when I'm in an offensive footwork position, it's hard for me to block because I'm going forward, my weight's on the front leg. I have to now transfer weight on my back leg in order to bring this leg up. So it's a little bit harder. So that's why when you watch the low kick system, I really time my low kick off the step, because when you step to punch, step to move forward, you can't block. So the reverse now, when you're the person blocking, you have to have control of your stance. So in my defensive footwork, I'm more 50-50 in my footwork, so I can block. When I'm attacking, however, I put my weight on the front leg. So the whole series, the whole system is starting to come together. The last point I'm gonna make is when blocking the kicks, and especially I see it a lot on the right kick, a lot of people bring this knee straight. And what happens is when the kick comes, it still knocks down. I need the blocks more on a 45-degree angle, whether it's the left side or the right side. And the quickest trick to teach that is having the toe position. So if you look at my toes, I'll turn my toes to the position I want to block. This now lets me getting the block on a good angle. Here we'll hit, here you're not doing anything. So turn my toes, watch my front foot out, and I get it. If I want a 45-degree on my right side, my toes got to point in that direction. Okay, so now I have Antonio Carvalho, UFC fighter, as well as up-and-coming kickboxer Abiel Delgado, and they're going to be starting with a simple drill back and forth where they're just going to throw right low kicks. And from there, they're going to be blocking, making sure they have the right angle, and they're blocking with the right part of their shin. I'm looking for a long, strong, stable block. You don't want your opponent to be able to push you off balance. Once you find the timing here, they can go to the left kick. As I mentioned in the opening, you have two options with the left kick. You can cross block, bringing your lead leg to the right elbow, or you can bring the back leg up. And you can constantly mix up, and it changes according to your opponent and depending on what you want to counter on. In order to make sure you block every level kick, we want to make sure the knee comes to the elbow. And now once they have the rhythm, they can go back and forth any which level they want, right kicks or left kicks. And remember, you need to find the balance in your stance to be able to kick and block right away. So in order to make this drill more challenging, they're going to counter back a little faster with their kicks, which is going to be the second half of this episode, which is countering off of the block. And time. So now that you're comfortable blocking the leg from the left side and the right side, now we're going to counter back with our own kicks. We're going to go 1-for-1 with the kicks, be able to block and counter back. I'm going to show you a quick few, and then we'll just flow off of it because it's a natural thing that has to unfold. You work set ways of landing the counter kicks, and then you just flow with it, and it comes out in different ways. So first thing Abiel is going to do is he's going to throw his right kick. I'm going to block. Now I have an option off of this block. I can step down into my own kick. Again, he block. I have a leg kick, body kick, head kick, any right side kick off of that. The second one is going to be a switch off of my lead side. So I can block and I can switch to the inside. I could block, switch to the body or head, and I can switch even and attack the back leg. So I have different options of attacking both sides. And same thing with the left kick now. With the left kick with my back leg, I can step down and hit with the same side. So one more time, block back leg, counter with that way. Or I can go block here, I can counter the other way. And remember, I can change up my levels, change up the way I block. So what we're gonna do is Abiel is gonna throw left or right, and I'm just gonna naturally block and counter off of it. I could even front kick off of it as well if I would like. Block and front kick. Abiel's on the bag and he doesn't have a partner, but what he's going to do is he's going to visualize his partner kicking and he's going to block and counter. Okay? And you can do the same thing with your shadow boxing. Just visualize your opponent kicking and visualize defense and countering. Alternating sides, lead blocks and rear blocks. Block and kick counter. The other thing Abiel is going to do now to make it more advanced, he's going to start using his boxing. In between his boxing, he's going to catch a leg block and fire off with his kick. So he's using his boxing, waiting for the counter kick. He's going to block and counter off himself with his kick. time. So now we're gonna practice leg blocks and counters using the pads. You can see that Abiel has his shin guards on. This way it doesn't hurt my shins when I'm kicking back. And the key is for Abiel is we're gonna start at a little bit more of an advanced level, but you can start with the same progression. Start with just the right kick, counter off the right kick. Start just the left kick, counter off the left kick. Build it up slowly. We're gonna get to the point now where I'm just gonna block on any side and counter. Then we're gonna add some punches, force me to block and counter. So you see the warm-up transition. So any kick, block to kick counter.
Step. 1, 2. Two. Jab. 1, 2. Jab. Double jab. 1, 2. Cross.
Some common mistakes when talking about blocking and countering. So the first thing is blocking, and it's not blocking. So you have to make sure you create a fighting stance that allows you to block. And that's gonna change where you have your weight distribution. So if you're getting caught with a lot of low kicks, it probably means you're very heavy on your front leg. So you're gonna have to adjust between your defensive and offensive stance a little better. The other thing is, now once you block, is not following up. And this is why countering with your kicks is very important, especially when you're blocking, your opponent moves a lot. Your kick is a longer weapon than your punches. Next episode, we'll talk about blocking and countering with punches, but it's very important you establish a good block kick counter game. You can have the front kicks and constantly change levels. The last mistake is countering with the same kick. You have so many different levels, so many different kicks. Change it. Go to the inside leg, go to the body, go to the head. Be unpredictable, and your counter kicks will have more damage. There you have it, episode 33 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and it's about blocking kicks and countering with your kicks. A very important skill, and it all comes down to having a good framework in your stance. So go back, rewatch the first few episodes in order to get that good, strong framework. Look at box stepping and make sure you look at fighting versus defensive stance. It'll help your leg kick blocking tremendously. So hope you're liking the series. Next episode, we're going to talk about blocking leg kicks, but countering with our punches. So this way you have the option to counter with your kick or counter with your punches, especially if you fight some of those kick dominant guys. You're going to have to be able to block and counter right away. So if you're enjoying the series, like, subscribe, bazookasquad.com for the t-shirts, and make sure you follow the guys behind the camera at DB Vault. To episode 34 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and in this episode we're talking about blocking kicks and countering with our punches. Last week was blocking and countering with our kicks. So this way, after this episode, you have the option of blocking left or right kicks and either countering with the kicks or the punches. So let's start right away with the blocking of the right kick. We're going to start very slow, and we're going to work on blocking the one side kick and countering with a single punch at first. So the first one's coming with a right kick, and the easiest one to counter off with is the right hand. And the important thing about countering with your punches is controlling the step down. What you're gonna see is a lot of people step and fall, and it just shows a lack of control in the footwork. So what you really wanna do is be able to block and control that step down where you want. So for example, when throwing the right hand, I might want to step into center line, I might block and maybe step outside, but I have that option because I'm in control of my footwork. So the first one, again, blocking off the right, countering with the right hand. So we have to do a few here. Okay, to make this drill a little bit more advanced, what you can do is you can start with a jab or straight punches. They're going to try to counter off. You block and then counter with your punch. So for example, I'm going to throw a jab. Abiel counters with a kick. I block off. and I throw my punch. So all controlling the weight in my footwork. Okay, the same thing can be applied with the left hook. So he's gonna throw the right kick, boom, I step in with my left hook. Block, left hook. So you can do any punch you want. So we can go block and left uppercut. I can go block, even jab off of it. And off my right hand, I can go uppercut or hook. So let's start with straight, then uppercut, then hook. Okay, so just different options. Once you have the single now, the pad holder is going to call more volume after that hit. So it's probably best you pick which combination you want to counter with. This way you don't have to think twice. In the bazooka system, you don't want to have to block and think, which counter am I going to throw next? Have set counters that you like to throw. One of my favorites, hook, cross, hook, maybe hook, cross, maybe hook, low kick. So have set counters built in. So let's go with the right hand, follow hook, round kick. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to add the punch before. Okay, that's going to go off this hand, lead block, hook, cross, hook, round kick. More. So we're still working on blocking the right kick and countering with our punches. Now we're going to do it as a partner drill. This way the person and the people who are drilling this can be a little bit more creative. We're going to start with singles. Once you start finding the block in the single, we'll start adding combinations after that. So I'm going to throw first. Aviel is going to block the right low kick and counter with a single punch of his choice. Now that we have our timing for our single, now we can do any combination we want back and forth. Kick first. No, wait till I kick first. So now that we drilled the right leg, it's important to work on the left leg. And just like our last videos, when we're blocking the left kick, you have two options. You can come over and cross or bring the back leg up. We're going to start very simple. We're going to block and counter with our right hand first. Doesn't matter which block, and then we'll go to the left hook. Then from there, you can be creative with the way you want to counter. So let's start with just the right straight. Constantly changing up how you block. Okay, once you have the right hand, let's go to the left hook, same concept. Okay, same thing can be applied to the other punches. So you can block, counter uppercut on both sides, counter hook on the other side. But we're going to go right into combinations. Let's go into my favorite, cross hook round kick. And remember, you can counter with any combination you want, but I'm looking for block to punches first. And let's go back and do it with partner drills. Now that we worked on the left block, countering with our punches, we're gonna use partner drilling in order to make it flow a little bit more. We're gonna start with blocking the left kick and attacking with a single. Once we get comfortable with our singles, we'll add more combinations. So Aviel's gonna start first. Sorry. Okay, let's start adding doubles after the block. Okay, any combination you want back and forth. All right, for some of my advanced followers now, this is more of the type of drilling you're gonna wanna do. Aviel and I have no shin guards on. Even for the intermediate followers, it's a good idea every so often to take your shin guards off, especially if you're thinking of fighting with no gear, just to get used to the feeling. It's a totally different feel having no shin guards, and now it's actually learning how to use the kicks properly because you have to hit with the right part of the shin. So if you're not an advanced person and you're watching this video, just put some shin guards on, keep your mouth guard in, put your headgear on if you really have to, but just use the amount of gear you feel comfortable with. Safety is first. So Aviel's just gonna kick left or right now, and I'm just gonna counter with my punches. This is where having a set counter combination is gonna really play in your advantage. This way you don't if you're not thinking what you wanna throw after which block. So let's see what unfolds off of this drill. Discussing some common mistakes, and the first one is going to be not controlling that step down. Once you get that block up, you have to be able to control that placement down, otherwise you're falling into your technique and it just shows lack of control and actually crappy technique. So make sure you're able to block and control your footwork into the punching. The second thing you want to make sure is you don't wait too long to counter. What's going to happen if you wait, you block, you put your foot down, and then you step to counter, most likely it's gonna be too late. So make sure you block, step right into your punch counters. And make sure, even if you don't get the block up, and what's gonna happen, sometimes you might try to bring the block up and it still slips in, don't worry, still go with the counter. This way you're still gonna make your opponent to think twice before throwing that kick again, because even if he doesn't block, I'm gonna throw my punch anyways. One of the main things you're gonna see, if people are taking a lot of punishment on the leg or on the kicks, you're gonna have to stand your ground and counter right back. There you go, episode 34 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, blocking and countering with your punches. The episode before, we blocked and countered with our kicks. But the third thing we're gonna do with these kicks next week is we're gonna learn to catch them and then counter back. So this way you're gonna have different options to defend against those power kicks. So if you like this series, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure if you like these t-shirts, you can get them at bazookasquad.com, and make sure you follow the guys behind the camera at DB Vault. We'll see you guys next week. To episode 35 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series, and today's going to be about catching body kicks. So we have 3 different ways from watching the series now about defending these body kicks. And the first one we have is movement. If the kick comes, we know how to use our triangle stepping and we know how to get out of our way. So that's one way. The second way of defending them, we learned how to block and we learned how to counter off of that. And our third way, which is going to be today, is catching kicks. And the main thing when catching the body kicks is you want to get away from that power. And the main way to get away from that power is making sure you step out. So when the kick comes, I'm going to step slightly out and back. This way, I'm not landing with the shin, I'm catching more of the instep, and I'm going away from the power. I'm not circling into the power kick. I'm able to step out and away and be able to put myself to take away a lot of the power away from those kicks, especially when you fight someone who's really powerful with their round kicks. Right now I'm going to bring Abiel in and I'm going to demonstrate these kicks. So the first way I'm going to actually demonstrate, I'm going to see if it works out, is I'm going to get Abiel to stand almost back to the camera. So you can see the angle that I step out. So when he kicks, I'm going to step out on this angle. I don't want to stay here. If I step this way, I'm walking into the kick. If I step this way now, I'm moving away from the power. And this is going to be a right power kick. So as soon as he says kicks, I'm going to step back. And you can see if he turns this way, I'm catching more with the foot and I'm turning my shoulder. If I stay here, he still has some punches to throw off of it. So I'm going to keep long and I'm going to tighten up the leg on my hand here and lift this arm up. This way he can't escape from my grip. So one more time from this angle, he throws a kick, I step up, back, and I go on a 45-degree angle, hand up, and this way I could counter off of that kick. So the second thing is he's going to throw his round kick and then his left kick. I'm stepping off on this angle now, and you can see I'm grabbing near the foot. So my forearm is basically locked into his ankle, and that is stuck. I can move him forward, I can move him this way, I can change him any direction that I want to do. So the first part of the drill, we'll just stand sideways now that you can see the angle, and he's just going to go back and kick right and left, and I'm just going to catch back and forth. And to make it simple, you can start with just the right kick, practice, get it, then just the left kick, catch it, and then left, right, alternating so it's in a pattern to make it easier to block. The more advanced you get in this type of drilling, you make it unpredictable. Okay, so Abiel's just going to start right and left, right, left for me. So you can see I'm catching and I'm working on throwing the leg off, okay, and narrowing myself sideways so I don't get punches and I can defend as well. Okay. Remember 45, backing out, grabbing near the foot. Okay, now that you have the kick, it's important to work on counters. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with Abiel putting the pads on, and I'm going to show you some catch and counters with the pads, and then we'll do some partner drilling. Okay, so now I have Abiel with the pads on, and we're going to start with just the right kick. And just because you caught the leg, there's so many different options we can do. Just like the previous episodes, we can counter with our kicks or we can counter with our punches. So right now, the most basic, we're going to start with the right leg catch and the straight right. So he throws the right kick, I catch, and as you can see, by pulling this shoulder in front, my left shoulder in front, I'm pulling my right shoulder back. This way I have space to throw my right hand. So let's throw about 3 of those so you can see. Okay, same thing like all of our other drills. We can throw a left hook and kick after that. So catch and counter with combinations. So catch, 1, 2, 3. One more. One more. Okay, now very simple, I can catch, I'm going to create a little bit of space by pushing him slightly, and I'm going to throw my round kick. So now I'm going to counter with my right kick. Here, push and kick. One more. Okay, so those are the 2 most simple. Catch right hand, catch right kick. After any of those, you can throw combinations. Now, let's go with the left kick. So the left kick, you have a few more options. And for the pads, we're gonna start with just the left hook for now. So I catch here. From here, I'm gonna push. I'm gonna throw my left hook. So I catch, push, and I load up the left hook. You see guys like Buakaw throw this one a lot. He's actually knocked out a few of his opponents with it. Okay, we can add a right cross hook kick. One of my other favorite combinations off of this. One more. Okay, and the last one we're gonna do, he's gonna throw the kick. I step off. You have two options. I can push off and throw a left kick switch, or one I like to teach is I grab, I step, and then I throw it that way. A lot of people like to sweep the leg out from underneath. I don't like to do that because it saves my opponent. I want to do as much damage as possible. So usually I like to throw low kicks, which I'm going to show you in the next part, which is partner drilling. So we're going to start with just the right kick and start with singles just like we did in the past. But now without the pads, it's going to let me hit with different angles. It's going to let me hit different levels. You're going to see me really focus on attacking the legs. So let me show you some of my favorite ways of attacking the low kick. Stepping out, catching, I push off, and I hit. Those are the free low kicks I've been talking about in my system. Let's get some more of them. I can change levels. Okay, to make this drill a little bit more advanced now, I can block sometimes and then I can catch to kind of throw my opponent off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting combinations together and flow. I might go same side. I might even hold the leg, punch a few times, throw off, then attack. I'm just going to change it up, still sticking with the right side. Okay, now we're going to go to the left side again, blocking some as well as catching on the other side. Some common mistakes when working the leg catching, and the first is not angling out on a 45. So same thing, if Aviel kicks, I don't want to walk into that. That's where it's going to do the most damage. I'm stepping away from it, I'm stepping back, and I'm stepping on a 45. Okay, one. Number two is making sure when you catch it, you're not weak on this arm. You want to do something because he can pull his leg right out. That's why I'm pulling this hand right up, locking that foot in and turning my shoulder sideways. This way the foot gets locked in. So this is the lazy way where it's easy to pull out. This way I can grab here, this hand comes up, turn the shoulder, that leg's not going anywhere. And the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure you counter back right away and make sure you follow within the rules. And that's the main thing. Some places in kickboxing will allow one strike, one catch, one step or one strike. In Muay Thai and other things, you can hold and attack a little bit more. You can run your opponent. There's different options from there. But in kickboxing, it's catch, one step, or one strike. So make sure you know the rules for the leg catching. There you go, episode 35 of the Bazooka Kickboxing series. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you have different answers to those body kicks. You don't just want to sit there and take them. Either move, block and counter with your kicks, block and counter with your punches, catch them and punish them. So differentiate the counter attack. This way your opponent has no idea what you're doing. If you're enjoying the series, make sure you like, subscribe, bazookasquad.com if you like any of the gear and the merchandise, and make sure to follow the guys behind the camera at DB Vault.